that you can't find me. You may never want to find me again. 'Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
You see what happens, Josh, when you don't show up on time? I'll just change the intro on you so you don't even get to enjoy Spring Yard anymore. So that's on you. That's your fault. Welcome, everybody. It's Friday night. We're here for episode 11 of the Barroom Podcast. We've made it all the way to 11 episodes here on Friday night. I want to thank you guys for joining me, my loyal group of cohorts, and then my new friends, I guess I'll call them here. Orange Hat Reviews, C.S. Johnson, Cold Classic Cage, Rob Motto. How are you guys doing tonight? How are you guys doing on a Friday night?
We made it. We made it to the end of the week.
Yes. Oh, trust me. That was an adventure.
Oh, yeah. I could tell from a couple of your guys' Twitter this week that it's been quite a long week for both of you guys. You guys want to get into it, or you just want to be like, nah, screw it? Or
I was awakened at 4 a.m. because my door opened. My Volkswagen app told me, hey, your door opened. Like, why is my door opening at 4 a.m.? I smoked a bowl and was about to go back to sleep. And it was like, oh, I go downstairs and there's these two skinny skater fucks trying to get in my car. And it's like, get the fuck out of my car. It was like, what are you doing? It was the most bizarre thing. They were like, oh shit, this guy is up on it. And they just left. And it was like some broken lock by like the trash. And I guess they climbed in, and it's just like, and the cops' response obviously took forever. And so we didn't catch him, but luckily I still have my car. We made it to Friday. I'm good now.
Good. Yeah, that sucks. That's all I can say. That sucks. I had a time a few years ago when I was at work, and it was one of those days where, because I worked in San Diego near Petco, I couldn't like park in the garage because it was like a opening day or one of those things. So it's like one of the few days that Padres fans actually show up. So I had to leave my car at home for the day, like take the bus. When I took the bus back home, I had noticed that someone was literally trying to get into my car because I had like a Sirius XM radio thing on the dashboard, and someone tried to break in. Keep in mind, this is like a 2001 Saturn that they couldn't break into. So they completely ripped like the keyhole out of my door trying to get in, couldn't get in, and then left like a wire hanger that they were trying to like claw in. So I had to like open the door from like the other side, take it to the shop, and lose the car for a day trying to get the whole thing replaced. Fortunately, it was all covered because it wasn't like it was my fault. But yeah, it's a pain in the ass when people touch your shit. Let's just put it that way.
Do people use steering wheel locks anymore? Like that used to be such a thing back in the day.
Oh yeah, I remember the club.
Lock on the fucking steering.
Yeah.
That was like a must-use in New York back in the day.
Yeah, you'll see like mid-90s Hondas and Toyotas because they get stolen so much in terms of used cars because most people aren't prowling for used cars. Still use the club. And it's like, well, at least protecting your stuff.
I mean, nowadays you don't even need a club. You just click or you just turn your damn wheel until it clicks and it locks.
Yeah.
But
sometimes that's annoying too, because when you actually do try to drive, like you can't even unlock your own damn car to drive away.
Yeah, right.
I've had that issue.
Yeah, my week was nice. Small drama here and there, but it's taken care of if need be. Not gonna get much into it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. All I can say is he has a bullet in the chamber. Let's just swallow that and let it go. So,
looking forward to talking entertainment.
Yeah, let's just talk about like movies and TV and stuff that's not about about how the former president got raided by the FBI and now they're trying to take the fall for it because they know it looks bad, and Twitter's coming out saying that they're going to try to fortify the next elections, and YouTube's coming out and saying, hey, we got new crackdowns for quote unquote wrong things. So yeah, everything's going well. Let's just talk about some movies, some things that don't exactly matter as much as the grand scheme of things. But before we get to that, I want to go ahead and shout out some guys in the chat. We have Duke Nukem, who joined us very early. He's hot. He's ready to go all in on Ezra Miller right now. But we're going to save that one for just a little bit later, so not just yet. Condescending Josh right now, who is working at Bounding in the Comics, editing a whole bunch of stuff, battling in sports. So, he's got some work to do before he can join us. Or maybe he just had a couple of beer, too. He just doesn't want to tell anyone about it. It could be either or. We have some people... We have some people joining us on Twitch tonight. Death by Gun Food. This is the Black Pill stream. No, this is the Barroom Podcast. That will be on Wednesday nights when we do Black Pill.
Of course, he would fuck it up.
Of course. Oz not joining us here tonight, and he wants everyone to know that he had an amazing sandwich on a completely unrelated note. But we're
better not be a hot dog. A hot dog is not a sandwich.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It better be something with like some cheese or some bacon, or we're not counting it as a sandwich.
Hopefully, a nice
Or
lady
two
made it
women.
for you too.
Mm-hmm. yeah, or that too. You know, you're going to put that out there. And then Josh telling us that unfortunately he's sober, which means that he really is working right now. So that sucks for you, buddy. But
I hope your back is doing better.
Yeah. Johnson wants to know that she hopes that your back is feeling much better than what it was a few weeks ago. So hopefully you're feeling a bit back up to it.
No medication and drugs and alcohol together. That's bad mix.
Yeah.
Oz said it's an Italian hoagie.
Acceptable.
Okay. So before we get started, I just want to let everyone know what's going on with the channel over the next couple of weeks, because next week I will not be here live. I will be in Vegas for the next week. We're doing a meetup with a bunch of guys, Culture Casino, Comics Division, and a few others. We're going to be meeting up in Vegas next week. So I won't be doing any new shows. So this is going to be the last week you see these shows in this format, just to give you guys a heads up. In 2 weeks, the bar room will be moving from Friday nights to Tuesday nights. We'll be running same time, same format, just be a new night. And then tomorrow we'll have our very last movie night stream with a movie that Pat Cassie picked, so you can blame her for killing the movie night stream with Nighthawks. But actually, we're going to be doing a new show. It will be retro rave reviews. We'll be talking about old television shows, movies, music, anything that's retro nostalgic. We'll talk about that. That'll be on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, right before the Black Pill stream. So we'll be a little bit busy there. And then, of course, on Monday nights, it's pretty much going to stay the same. We're just going to change the format a little bit. We're going to rename our show the Monday Night Movie Crew. It'll be myself, Rob, Rick and Gordon, and then maybe Sarah. We'll get Sarah. Like I said, we're like bullying her and pressuring her and doing things she doesn't want to do. So we'll try to get her on the stream as well. So yeah, just letting you guys know that we're going to be changing up a few things. Little things are going to be different, but it'll all work out at the end. You'll still get your same content that you're getting from us, and keep on subscribing. And hey, if you're watching this video right now, go ahead and give it a like, so that way more people can see it. We can get more viewers. We can actually grow this thing. So go ahead, quick little shout out to Spencer, who's also busy editing a whole bunch of stuff at Bounding into Comics right now. Shout out to Orange. And then, of course, Spencer and Josh are going through they're bickering right now like they always do. Josh said that his back is fine. Thanks for asking.
Yay.
And now these two are just going to be going at it for like the next few minutes, but whatever the case may be. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick little update there before we get started, but let's go ahead and get into it. So this is a story. I guess this all kind of blends into each other, all the way these stories are going to go. But let's start off with, did you guys know that they were making a League of Their Own series that was going to come out, I believe, on Amazon somewhere in the near future? So it's going to be, for what I heard, it's going to be headed up by Abbi Jacobson, who was one of the girls from Broad City. So if you despise Broad City, there's a very strong chance you're going to despise this as well. Because League of Your Own star talks about how she and one of her best friends performed lesbian scenes for the series. So this is a article written by Paul Hare. We don't get too many Paul Hare stories, so shout out to Paul here. Saying that League of Your Own, the Amazon Prime series, will feature queerness in a huge way. But you may be surprised, one of the stars recently discussed how she and one of her best friends performed lesbian scenes, or in second thought, maybe it won't surprise you. So this is the poster for the show here. There's a lot to unpack with this story, but essentially here, back last week, the Daily Beast published excerpts from an interview from Darcy Carden, who was on the podcast, the Last Laugh podcast, and she was talking about starring in the League of Your Own reboot, which is going to be for Amazon. So if any of you guys are panicking about what Amazon's going to do with Roadhouse, maybe you guys should pay attention to this one. During the interview, she described how Abbi Johnson, the co-star and the series co-creator, one of the best friends who she adores, and a few paragraphs later, says that she teased that the story of this reboot is going to focus on queerness in a big way. Now, Abbi Jacobson, if you guys don't know, the Broad City chick, she's also a lesbian who is married. I think she's married or engaged fairly recently. I don't remember which one, but no, it's not too important to the story, I guess. But in the article, they developed about how creators is going to be a part of the show. He said, for Corden, that means that there are going to be a few love scenes between her character and Jacobson's character. So these two are friends, I guess, in real life, and they're going to be playing lesbian lovers in the film, which one can say is very odd, but one can say that's just Hollywood for you. He said, it's not that weird, she claims. He said, when asked what it's like to make out with your best friend on camera, he said, it's not like I can be, it's nothing. But right after she changes course, he said, I just want to say it's ultimately better than doing it with a dear friend. And we were able to cut through the bullshit. But yeah, it's weird. So you're seeing a few photos here for the upcoming series. She ended by noting, but that's because kissing someone in front of the camera 4 feet away from them in your face is weird. And if anyone who says it's not is truly insane. I honestly don't have anything to follow up with that. Just seriously speaks for itself. So this is a series. If you guys don't remember the old League of Your Own movie, I believe it was like 1990, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
91.
91. Okay.
91, okay, right around that time, with Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, Rosie O'Donnell, Madonna, about a group of women's baseball players, and they were a group that a lot of people liked. The story was very well liked. It was
based on real history.
Yeah, and like I said, it was based on a true story too, and it was well received. It's one of those stories where, with the recent run of remakes and reboots that we've all seen from Hollywood, it's like I kind of don't want anyone to do, especially modern day writers, because they end up doing stuff exactly like this, where it's pretty much going to be a series in name only. Like, let's just be honest.
Oh,
with
indeed.
it is.
Yeah.
I actually have a story about the whole women's baseball league, because I did one of my mystery reviews on A League of Their Own. It's actually, to this day, one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. However, I actually met a woman from the professional women's baseball.
Ooh,
when I
cool.
went to Cooperstown in '93 with my dad. He took us all down there, and it was at that time the women's portion of the baseball has only been open for a short time, a couple of years, in fact.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the lists, and this woman comes up, and she's like, "Would you like to meet one of these women?" And I was starstruck. I was a baseball fan when I was a kid. I was all into that, and I'm like, yeah. And she points to the name Dolly Niemiec, and I'm like, who is that? She's like, that's me. And I'm like, wow. Not only did I just meet a person who was a part of actual history, I wouldn't understand or appreciate that later in life, or until later in life. But this was something that was very special. I mean, to actually meet somebody who was a part of history, how many people can honestly say that,
Mm-hmm. So you definitely had I was going to say, yeah, you definitely had a personal moment, especially with a lady who was very close with the story from the movie that you truly love. So I kind of want to just spread this out to the rest of you guys. If you guys have seen the original movie, I can only assume you have, but if you have seen the movie, what did you think of the movie, and what do you think about essentially the creator of Broad City doing her own spin on this thing on Amazon? It sounds like, are you guys dreading it, or
I
what
honestly
your general
think
thoughts about the whole thing?
I honestly think this is a great insult to what the original story was. Yes, chances are there were women back then who who went the other way. There's no doubt about that. But most of the women who joined the Professional Women's Baseball League, they were wives that were stuck in the kitchen. They were women who were doing their own leagues back in the day. These were women who paved the way for sports that wasn't just the guys.
Yeah.
And to have this mocked just so you could push some identity politics story, it is why people like me do what we do. People like us, we do what we do to call this stuff out, because This isn't important. I have said many times covering the LGBTQ representation in film. It's been around since 1916, folks.
Right.
And everybody's saying, well, they're underrepresented. They didn't have their own leads and whatnot. It's like, that's fine, but do not try to change history.
Yep.
Do not use your today politics to tell a yesterday story.
Yeah, that's the most disgusting thing about it. Like, this is a unique part of our culture as Americans, a very unique point in our in sports history, and for it to be used and sacrificed for modern day to push social political ideology of modern day. It is disgusting, and we're constantly seeing it more and more. And obviously, comic book characters aren't comparable to these historical situations, but a good comparison that also does infuriate me is the X-Men 97 return, in which they're going to put modern day social political ideology in a TV show that is supposed to take place in 1997. It is just, we are sick and tired of this shit. I don't care how many times I have to dog on it and beat people over the head with it. I'm not going to stop because I'm fucking sick and tired of it, just like they don't want to stop. So
Exactly.
they can keep pulling this shit, but guess what? People like Orange Hat and all of us, we're going to continue to shit on them and beat them over the head with how stupid they're acting. This is absolutely shameful. These people claim to be all about appreciating the history of women and all that, but they don't even go as far enough as to actually accurately represent women's history in any meaningful way. It's just they want to push their bullshit that they believe in now wholeheartedly, and they don't do it with any talent or any ambition whatsoever other than to be ideologues. It's it.
Look at what they did with Joan of Arc recently.
I just want to say this. Like, my favorite part of A League of Their Own is John Lovitz being an insulting asshole, especially to like the one girl.
Ad lib.
Yeah, no, he was amazing and just being a complete piece of shit. But I mean, greatly entertaining. And Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks is great because he's a giant baby who's an alcoholic who, has to own up to the fact that he's a washed up ball player, and the use that he has is to be a manager for this baseball team. And A League of Their Own is a really entertaining movie. I think that it has some issues here and there because I'm a picky asshole when it comes to movies, but I enjoy it. I've seen it 6-7 times. It's something I can come back to, whenever it's on TV or just put it on streaming, and it's just one of those things that works. It's entertaining. Penny Marshall did a great job with directing, and has a good cast to it. So with this Amazon remake, I can't speak to the quality of Amazon Prime originals. However, I have seen the first 2 seasons of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and that's another sort of fantasy-driven movie or driven TV series where it takes place in the world of stand-up comedy in like the 50s. Mm-hmm. And when women would have been harassed out of the room if they got on stage. And it's this fantasy where she's just as talented as Lenny Bruce. Do you know how insulting that is? Do you know how insulting it is to say, oh, I'm as good as Lenny Bruce was? And it's like, it's just this complete fabrication. So I have no expectations for A League of Their Own that's especially focused on people of color and a lesbian relationship, where it's like, yeah, these people existed. They would have never been allowed to live so openly, and this reminds me also of just like, I guess, a liberal point of view is if things were bad once, they'll always be bad, meaning that even if we've progressed past a mistake, we have to beat ourselves and with a cudgel because we're part of the people that did this, which we're not. And it makes no sense. It's like, wait, we're going to punish ourselves because things were bad in this one occasion? It makes no sense. And it basically gets rid of the idea that we can progress past, the mistakes we've made.
They live by the rules. 2 wrongs make a right.
Yeah. Johnson, what do you, I was going to ask you, what is your thoughts on the whole League of Your Own situation?
Well, I have watched it. It's been a while, but what I liked about it when I was younger was that it was about like sisters who were feuding too, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And I loved that because, believe it or not, my sisters are actually smarter than me and probably more capable too. And I identified with that kind of struggle where you have sibling rivalry translated into other activities, and I thought it was just a really, it was a cathartic moment in my life to watch it and be like, hey, that was nice. And it does speak to kind of like the nature of womanhood and being like a sisterhood in its own right. And I think that was kind of nice, in a like a symbolic sort of thematic way. So
a wonderful thing about A League of Their Own. It was the biggest misdirection movie ever. Everyone thought it was Gina Davis's story. It was her sister's story. It was just told by Gina Davis's point of view.
Yeah. That's one thing, because like I said, we'll focus on the creator, because like a lot of stuff goes back to her. Abbi Jacobson, like I said, she did the show Broad City. I'm not sure if any of you guys have watched the show before, but it's an awful television show. It's really that show is supposed to be relatable to like women, like I guess in their 30s and like 20s and whatnot, because the point of the show is that you have two women living in New York City that are the roommates to like terrible roommates, and they're both pretty much childish, even though they're already in their like mid 30s at this point. So they're acting like teenagers, even though they're like 35, 36. And it's all supposed to be played up for a comedy, but really it's just kind of a depressing like look at how a lot of these people like live their lives in like these big cities. Because one thing what they're doing with this show is that they always have to like self-insert themselves like into the story. Like there was a story earlier this week about how Marvel is now trying to retcon like Black Cat and like another a Marvel character to be a lesbian now. So they want to change the sexuality of two more established characters. And I even made the joke on Twitter earlier this week. It's like, have lesbians just completely taken over Marvel and DC and just start making like corporate back fan fiction? Because that's essentially like what it is now. So this is Abbi Jackson's corporate back fan fiction of A League of Their Own, where, oh, well, you know what? I'm a lesbian and I'm in a lesbian relationship with another woman. So of course, if we're going to tell a story about a bunch of women playing, baseball or softball, or if the premise is going to be, well, a bunch of them have to be gay, because, I can't tell a story without throwing my identity into the story. And this is why so many of these projects suffer in the long run, because they cannot in any circumstances separate themselves from the story that they're trying to tell. That they can't like remove themselves from the story, because everything has to be seen through their lens. They think that everything has to be identified with what they're making and what they're creating, and it just ruins art altogether.
And it's all literal. It's all literal. That's what I can't stand, is that there's no sense of metaphor or subtext or, but something that has depth to it. It's this literal copy of reality that's not interesting or artistic or it doesn't provide any kind of lasting impact. And that's the most frustrating thing, is like, you are not creating anything interesting, like not even as a failure. That's the thing. Well, don't you want to swing for the fences of like your most creative idea instead of making a gay league of their own? It's like it's so embarrassing as like an artist coming from an artistic point of view. It's like you don't want to do anything more than that.
It's like it's crazy, because it's like back when that movie was a thing, like the cast was relatively likable. Now most of that cast is pretty much insufferable as fuck, like in modern day. And it just feels like these fucking dudes is just like, how can we make an even more insufferable fucking thing than these people from this movie now in modern day? Let's challenge ourselves in that way. It's like they challenge themselves to be the biggest pieces of shit on your TV screen. That's the only aspirations these people have.
I mean, the only two that I haven't heard any insanity from are Gina Davis and Lori Petty.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, Madonna won't even come back to the United States because the Secret Service are on her ass. But
well, Madonna looks like a human cat now. I'm not sure if you've seen her recently.
That's
so
disrespectful to cats, bro. Okay,
Yeah,
I've been indoctrinated into cat gang. I resent that. Okay, entirely.
Yeah, don't make fun
that
of the pussy.
bitch looks like a fucking alien from
listen,
whole new
Madonna,
galaxy undiscovered.
Madonna's biggest problem has always been
It's her fake ass.
Well, yes, but
that too.
In terms of a public persona, she cannot take a joke. So, like, she can't even poke fun at herself. And that's the problem. Like, she's one of these people that literally thinks she's important with that name Madonna. And it's like, honey.
Well, it's not only that, but she's 63 and she's still trying to be like the 20-year-old sex kitten from the 1980s. Like, that time's long past.
Like that sex book that she published, it came out when I was like 2. You know what I mean? It's like, this woman is so far past, like, anybody giving a shit. I mean, I guess she still has fans.
It's like, fucking close your legs. No one wants to see that pastrami sandwich anymore, bitch. Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? And Rosie O'Donnell, they still say that she's a comedian. It's like she hasn't been a comedian since the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe she'll make a cameo.
Oh my God! If she makes a cameo, she'd be like the fat lady singing the national anthem in A League of Their Own. That's probably all she's good for. But
pretty much.
She'd be the one munching on hard bars this time.
But I mean, like, that's what she's also like a lesbian right now. That would kind of make sense in my book.
Yeah, she is.
Like, if you're gonna do this,
and again, I don't want to talk shit on people's lives, but I think like it was made into the media that like her daughter doesn't even talk to her, Rosie O'Donnell. I just always found that really weird because most celebrities still have relationships with their children, But
yeah, unless you're Jeanette McCurdy's mother's
mom.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Then she goes right to
story. Her book is new. I'm glad my mom is dead. Like, holy shit, who makes a book like that?
They're awful stage mothers. I will say that. Like Lindsay Lohan's mother was one of them. I mean, they're out there.
Oh yeah, you got some crazy parents of celebrities, and you also got crazy celebrities that are parents. I mean, as much as I love Nicolas Cage, you named your kid Kal-El.
Nicolas Cage, did you ever hear about the shit he bought that was Elvis related? Like that alone probably helped him go bankrupt.
There's a reason why Nicolas Cage went broke.
He married his daughter. He married Elvis's daughter. That's how obsessed he was.
Yeah, big yikes.
I mean, as much as I love him as an actor, the dude is freaking legend. But you named your kid Kal-El. You married Elvis's daughter. You bought freaking Graceland.
Right.
Well, pretty much everything in Graceland, except for Graceland itself. I mean, your personal life is fucking weird, but I love you as an actor, dude.
Whereas, like, there are 2 Nicolas Cage performances that I can't live without, meaning are movies that are just so good that his annoying public behavior doesn't get in the way of me enjoying them. Bringing Out the Dead and what is it? Leaving Las Vegas. Leaving Las Vegas. And I'll throw in Con Air because it's not a good movie, but I love it and I can't deny.
You should have said The Rock, man.
The Rock's good. It is. It's good, but it's also like Michael Bay. And if you know Michael Bay, you know.
Back when Michael Bay was good. So was wasn't Con Air also Michael Bay?
No. I did. I verified it wasn't because it's very much a Michael Bay movie. So.
All right. Well, we're going to go on to our next topic. Unless you guys have any last statements on this League of Their Own lesbian reboot.
Don't watch it.
Thoughts about this one?
It's called Butch League of Their Own.
All right then. Well, let's move on to one lesbian drama to another lesbian drama. I guess you can't really call it a lesbian drama because this may be a trans drama. Now, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we did a story where Marvel's Disney Plus series Ironheart is bringing on a drag queen to play a prominent role in the series, and now they've just announced this week that they're going to be adding on a transgender woman who is also going to have a prominent role in the upcoming Ironheart series. So it seems like that they're going all in on the LGBTQ community in this series, which isn't even out yet. Now, before I get into the story, they've released some photos from, I guess, what's going to be Ironheart's suit going into this. It looks absolutely god awful, but yeah, I don't know how much Disney's putting into this, but they probably should put in a little bit more money. Now, this
I can't
actress
help but laugh at these fucking people. Like they're such a fucking joke.
Yeah. Now, this actress right here, I actually do know because I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard. There's a Australian TV show called Wentworth, which is about a female women's prison.
Prison, yeah.
Yeah, think of it like Orange is the New Black, but it's played up as an actual drama rather than a comedy. The first few seasons are actually like pretty solid, but then they ended up killing their main protagonist like around like season 5 or something, and then the show just falls apart.
Yeah.
But so I actually know this actress from this show because she played like one of the like transgender lovers of one of the inmates on that show. But she's gonna be or he or they. I mean, I don't know. Like
It.
Let's call it that. That way we're completely non-inclusive. They're gonna be in the new. They're gonna
go out
be
of her way to be non-inclusive. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be as least exclusive as possible. Non-binary trans masculine actress, and that's exactly how they describe themselves, which just kind of shows you society has fallen. It's going to be in the upcoming Ironheart series, announced on Deadline just a couple of days ago. What's this name? Zoe Tartar-Keats, which I'm butchering that name. So be it. Taraticus. I mean, honestly, I have no idea.
Tyrannosaurus.
So she might identify
Might
one
as
at
well
this point.
be.
You never know. So she will appear on the MCU's television series in a key role. The details are kept close to the chest. So they're telling you about all the people who are going to be on the show, but they're giving you no information about what the show's actually going to be about just yet, which is always good news.
Right.
Yeah, so they're gonna be this person today. I mean, like I said, I don't know. Like, look, you guys make this shit way too fucking confusing. I mean, the only person who should be referring to himself in the third person is The Rock. So when you guys try to do it, it only makes me irritating trying to read some of these stories. But the reveal only comes a week after announcing that RuPaul Drag Race star Karen Morrell, who's known by the stage name of Shea Coulee, is also going to be in the cast in an unidentified role. Now, apparently, this person is going to be playing a transgender drag queen superhero in that series. So there's that.
Is anybody tired yet? Because I'm
so
close.
I've only gotten like 3 paragraphs. I'm already like exhausted. I'm just trying to like describe like this whole rest of the show.
Shaka.
Yeah,
it's just why don't they just change the name to Virtue Signal itself? Like change the entire name of the show.
I mean, Ironheart. That suit that she has,
Iron Virtue Signal.
You might as well call her like War Machine Light.
Right. Yeah. Well, Ironheart. So the whole point of Ironheart's character is that they made when they tokenized the comic books in the last 10 years, they made her the black female teenage version of Iron Man. So that's essentially what she is in the comics. She's Iron Man played by a teenage black girl. And that's the whole that's the whole thing about the comic book. Her character is literally a sociopath. Because in her origin story, she was in like I think a kindergarten or some shit like that. And she wanted her white teacher to, I guess, say that she couldn't be whatever she wanted to be as a teacher, as a student, to use that as like motivation, but the teacher wouldn't do it. So she wanted this whole thing about, I was hoping that you would tell me that I couldn't do this so I can use that as motivation to prove you wrong. And it's like it was such sociopathic behavior. And I can't imagine that people would look at something like that and think, oh yeah, this character is totally likable and whatnot. But that's what Marvel is basically.
I wanted you to hate me so I could have a reason to hate you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, please
being a decent person is inconvenience to me.
Please do an accurate fucking representation of the comic book in this TV show, because I want to laugh even harder than I already am. Please.
Yeah. So there's 4 pictures. Now I have to say it is kind of sad because the before pictures is like she wasn't that bad looking like then, but I'll show you some pictures of what she currently looks like now. It's not great. It might be even depressing for some of you people, but so they just said here about the show that they firmly believe in their ability to teach stories and open hearts and minds and blah blah blah, yada yada, and they're saying that hey, this is gonna be powerful content that changes the minds and only springs from inclusive cultures. So they're gonna play up the black card, they're gonna play up the LGBTQ card hard in this series. That's essentially what's going on. Now there is a follow up to this one. Because there's some people that you say are getting kind of fed up with Disney's incision of making all these characters gay, straight, and lesbian. But we'll just go ahead and stop here for a second and talk about Marvel's Ironheart. What do you think about them playing up as hard to the LGBTQ community as they are? Like I said, you just heard me try to read like a couple of paragraphs of that whole sentence, and it's just absolutely confusing and infuriating. So I can only imagine what it's like to watch this crap.
I miss the LGBT community.
Yeah, right.
I miss that community because that was actually one that made sense. Yeah. Now it's LGBTQIA plus Sigma round to the nearest Delta and Alpha Omega. It's like, I'm sorry, but when you are making a show that has everything and the kitchen sink in it sexually and sexual identity, can somebody please show me what the faucet is? Because honestly, what the hell is going on? Okay, you're making the show about a girl who is basically the ultra perfect race gender bent version of Iron Man. Yes? Okay. So what does trans drag masculine duckbills have to do with any of this?
Cultural reparations, part 2.
Well,
Okay.
is it that she's a scientist? Is it that Tony himself is a scientist? So she's a girl scientist who's taking
here's the thing.
Iron Man's place.
The first thing that we're going to see her in is the Wakanda Forever Black Panther 2. And I say Black Panther 2 afterward because that technically is supposed to be the title, but it's now the subtitle because, well, Chadwick's no longer Black Panther and
he's dead.
Wakanda Forever. But anyway, we see Riri in Wakanda and it's like, how'd she get there?
That's the thing. She has no connection to the Black Panther universe whatsoever outside of the fact that, well, the writers and the creators are like, well, she's black, so this would be a great introduction into the Marvel universe by putting her in the movie with all the other black people. So this is how we're going to introduce Black Iron Girl into the
nothing
Marvel
like
universe.
Segregation for freaking film.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much where we've gotten to now.
We fought wars to end that shit, and they're now saying that that's the new solution.
Yeah.
It was already bad enough that Spider-Man in the MCU was Iron Boy. Now we have Iron Girl. Like,
yeah.
This is
at least Iron Spider actually had basis in the comics. The problem is they didn't do it well in the movies. As much as Tom Holland
they just replaced Uncle Ben with Tony Stark, and that just I can never ever
while injecting the sentimental lessons of that character into Aunt May.
Aunt May is Uncle Ben with the whole with great power comes great responsibility. But you also had Tony Stark embodying him to be the person that he looked up to. However, May is the one that drops the important line. And believe me, that pisses me off because it's like Uncle Ben is the reason why so many Peter Parkers in the multiverse of Spider-Verses, even Spider-Man Noir, Ben or his Uncle Ben had an impact on his life. So many universes, Peter Parker is who he is because of Uncle Ben. Yeah. Why do you want to take that away from him? Well, one, you forgot to put Uncle Ben in the show because, well, women don't need no man. And two, we got to give the women. I mean, I'm not sexist, folks. I sound sexist, but I'm not sexist because this is what Hollywood is doing. They want to bump up the women. But as I always point out, men, women, you don't chop down the men in order to bump up the women. The women stayed where they were. You just chop down the men. They look like they're better, but they're still mediocre. there's
Well,
no
for what it's worth,
balance.
like I agree with this. I think like I have a son and a daughter, and I can't teach my son certain things. You know, like I can still teach him a lot, and I hope he's learning.
You can
But
teach
like,
your son to be a good person, but a woman can't teach a boy to be a good man.
right? I mean, like pretty much, yeah. I got like
Sorry,
flack on
I've
that
lived
for
this.
Facebook once, but no, I mean like like there are some things that I need his father to teach him more than, or like a father figure to teach him. So
Yep.
Because you have what we used to call a traditional family unit.
Yeah. And I've actually suffered from this personally. My father left when I was 5 or 6. I can't exactly remember. And I have my entire life sought out this like male role model figure because I'm still trying to figure out what it is. And I know this is embarrassing to say a lot, but I'm still trying to figure out what it is to be a man, what that means, what that translates to in the real world, you know, how to not, you know, be a coward. So I'm still figuring it out, but I came to that conclusion a long time ago that I absolutely missed out on that.
I mean, Rob, you should definitely never be ashamed of that, because I think what's shameful is that people think that after they go to school that they don't learn anything anymore. Life is a constant state of learning. And the only people that should be ashamed is to think that at some point it ends, because these are the most ignorant people of all in our society.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, like, for what it's worth again too, like my father and I weren't very close, and I know that like if you look at the statistics of women who aren't close with their father versus the ones who are, it's really kind of depressing too. So we need good men, and we need good strong men, and I cringed at that line too. I mean, like for everybody who said that Spider-Man No Way Home was really great, I was like, you know, it was nice to see Tobey Maguire again, and it was fun to have Andrew Garfield get that moment of redemption. But other than that, I kind of checked out because it was just
Still wondering why Andrew Garfield got his redemption. He did great in this movie. Why did he apologize for being white?
I didn't like that either.
Loser. That's
I mean, it's like
these people are just loser human beings.
He apologized. He does the whole white guilt thing with Electro because he's like, man, you should have been black. Oh, I'm sorry, man. It's like, why? Why are you sorry for that? Honestly, that's his problem. That's not a you problem. That's his problem. Don't ever apologize for being who you are. Now, a lot of people are like, well, or this. It's like, no. He literally apologizes because a person told him you should be black. He's apologizing for being white. How do you see it any other way? Honestly,
we live in cloud world, bro. I mean, look, getting on this topic, I think it is important to state, as a tomboy, speaking to other tomboys, it is okay to be a tomboy. Don't let these fucking alphabet gang motherfuckers make you think that you have to cut your titties off and you have to be a lesbian. No, do not ever think that it's perfectly okay to be a tomboy, because we are an endangered species at this point in society. And it's like I've had people actually tell me that I'm a lesbian and I'm this and I'm that, or I'm trans, because this is just who I am. I've been a tomboy since before I understood sexuality. Like way the fuck back when I was like 4 years old. Like I remember like buying fucking action figures that were for dudes because I just liked. I went as a little kid, I walked into the girls section and I said, this is all pink. I hate the fact that this is all pink. So I went to the boys section. I'm like, this shit has a lot of cool ass stuff, a lot of different colors. I could jive with this. So I ended up buying boys toys. It was never anything that influenced me, anything in regards to sexuality that influenced me. It is perfectly fine to be a tomboy, and do not let people try to tell you otherwise, because that's not cool. I feel like a lot of these people that are doing this are doing things that they will eventually regret in the future, because they're taking such extreme measures. Like you're just like this dysmorphia, like purposeful dysmorphia. It's not like you're diagnosed. A lot of these people do this stuff and they're not diagnosed with any form of dysmorphia mentally or anything. They're just doing this because socially they feel like they have to, because some fucking asshole tells them otherwise. Like, nah, it's never cool.
There's this very strange like popularity contest that's going on right now with like young people, and like this, like, well, I am non-binary too, and it's just like, no, you're just 15. Okay, listen, I was like what was used to be called an emo kid. I put on eyeliner. I had lip piercings. I wore women's jeans. Okay, full stop. Okay, so I get the.
It's okay. I wore men's jeans. It's fine.
Okay. But we understand. Like, hey, you're not
Tomboy.
You're not a man. You're not a man, and you are not a girl. You're just a fucking teenager. It's okay. We've all been through it.
Yep.
And yes, Jacob probably would have beaten me up when we were teenagers, but that's beside the point.
Okay, you two on the bottom.
I wasn't a bully, but I could if I wanted to.
You two on the bottom. I just want to say thank you for existing in 2022.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest about who I am.
I'm not going anywhere.
We're all unicorns of a sort, I guess, because I'm a happily married woman.
Well, Cassie essentially is a freaking unicorn because tomboys don't exist now.
No, they don't.
Because the problem is, especially with this community, if you do have someone who identifies as like a tomboy, especially if you're like 8 or 9 or whatever the case may be, now it's like, oh no, you're trans. Here, let me help you into your trans identity. It's like, no. It's like, hey, hold on. It's like
you're supposed to want a dick and you're supposed to like women.
Exactly, right? It's like just because someone wears a fucking backwards cap and fucking overalls doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're like this trans lesbian heteroformative like bullshit now. It's like, well, we just completely like ruined that as part of our society. But if you guys want to be further depressed, so the actress in Toll we were talking about here, this is some of her before pictures, and she was actually, I would say, pretty decent looking back then at the time. You know, some of the photos that we have here, but it does, you know, gradually get a little worse. And to keep in mind, this is only like a handful of years ago. I think this may have been maybe
back when she was originally herself.
Yeah, you could tell this is a very insecure person. You could just tell. Unfortunately,
well, we are talking about actors, so
yeah,
they don't have an ounce. They don't have an ounce of self-security.
Right.
I mean, but I was also bringing up like a little bit ago, my stream, that a lot of like females in the film space or even in video games, they're now depicted as some of the most insecure motherfuckers ever. Like the new Tomb Raider script got leaked for the video game, and it's like basically Lara Croft is going to be this lonely, insecure lesbian, and it's just like Lara Croft is like the definition of proud, non-insecure individual. Like, why are you changing this character? It was a character that women could look up to as, look, this is a person that is secure in who she is. She doesn't fucking flake just because of anything. Like, I want to look up to a Lara Croft, not someone that's a fucking like insecure, lonely. That's not who Lara Croft is. And they're depicting her in a way that just doesn't make sense for her character. And now it's like all the women in these spaces are just a bunch of insecure people. And then it's like you're influencing women to be insecure. And you're doing the opposite effect of what you claim to be when you claim to be a feminist. You just make women weaker by your stupid ass influences that shouldn't be a thing.
And I have no relationship with Tomb Raider. I've never played a video game. I've never seen any of the movie adaptations. I couldn't tell you, whatever. I couldn't tell you anything about it. But she always struck me as like Indiana Jones. So like she's a kick-ass like adventurer but that's kind of the basis of my understanding. So I don't know why you would make her into a self-loathing or self-hating individual, who's not empowered, who doesn't want to save the day or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know.
It's
much
because,
about
like
this game,
I said, these new creators are obsessed with tearing down what we call traditional beauty standards. So because Lara Croft was considered an attractive beauty standard like 20, 25 years ago, it's like, okay, well, now we need to tear that down and make her more realistic, meaning that we need to make her look like someone that I can identify with rather than someone who's, as a video game icon action hero, because that's
they don't
not
want
realistic.
anybody who's strong in the grand scheme of things. They don't want
No.
strong women. They want women that they can mold into their image. That's the whole goal.
Yep. So any last thoughts here on the Ironheart one before we move on to our next story?
Yeah, that transgender woman that turned into a man, she looked hot as a woman, but as a man, she looks like the guy from The Relic that was always sucking up to the rich people to get more grants and ended up getting his head bit off.
I was going to say this is like a even uglier AC Slater, but that works too, I guess.
I mean,
I think
it really is
years,
sad that people feel that they need to change. I mean, Elliot
like radically
Page,
change, not like subtle change, like radically.
Yeah.
I mean, Elliot Page, I am going to use them as an example. Back when he was Ellen Page, she at the time, she was a she. She was great in X-Men. Her name was out there. Her career just kind of dwindled. I'm gay. Oh, look, Ellen's gay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then her career started to dwindle. I'm getting married. Oh, look, she's getting married. Then Inception. Oh, cool, she's in Inception. Well, then her career starts to dwindle. I feel like I'm a guy.
Yeah.
Ooh. Now you're going to have to fucking commit to it. Okay, I'll fucking commit to it. It is fucking pure insanity that somebody's so freaking, insane in real life, but I will fully admit, Ellen Page was attractive.
I said the same thing a couple
hobbit,
weeks ago.
But she was she was an attractive hobbit. But now
Canadian
Elliot this Elliot Page guy, yikes.
Right.
I'd rather not even look at it because it just isn't.
It's grotesque.
Yeah.
Yes,
like, let's just be honest. The
you
chiseled
deformed your
chest
body
thing
because you deformed your body to make a statement because you needed to be relevant again. What have you done since Umbrella Academy?
Yeah. And you know what, man? It's like these women are chopping their tits off. And like I just think about my grandmother who when I was 12, she had cancer. She had breast cancer. And she was in her early 70s, and she refused to have her breast chopped off. It would just make her feel like less of a woman. So like she did get the surgery, everything went fine. She lived like another 10 years without having to deal with cancer after that situation, thankfully. But like I do remember she wanted to retain her womanhood, and it's like that was important to her, especially at a time where her life was unfortunately in a state of danger. And it was like that meant more keeping her breasts at the age of 73. It's like you would think, what does it matter? It doesn't matter anymore. You are, you're not you don't have to be seen in any attractive way, but that is her womanhood, and she would not give that up. And thankfully that didn't cost her. But I just think back to that and how these women are just throwing that away for over the most minute things.
Yeah, and if you look at these transgender surgeries, especially the female to male one, it's some horrific shit. They're not just cutting off their breasts; it's they're skin grafting parts of their body to create some faux penis. And then you have these other women who are injecting themselves with all these chemical changing hormones that say, "Oh no, it's reversible. You can always go back." It's that shit's not reversible.
You also
go ahead.
Sadly, I did research and I have had nightmares since of how they get their brand new penis. Let's just say that it takes a lot of Botox, a lot of hormones fed into a clitoris, and even then you're looking at a life with hypospadia.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you who don't know, that you have 2 pee holes that you got to seal up one.
It's basically, we used to call them abominations, but now you have to treat them as if it's just completely normal. This is just the way things are now.
I mean, hermaphroditism used to be acceptable, except and then a person who is a hermaphrodite, man and woman, who has both of the organs, eventually they were born with the one more prominent than the other, so they would have to figure that out. Nowadays, you're not even a hermaphrodite, yet you want to be the complete opposite, but that requires that you destroy yourself in order to do so.
Yeah.
The fact that we are mainstreaming, that we are feeding into this delusional behavior, really sets us back.
Yeah. I'm going to let Rob finish this point before we go on.
Oh, hey, I have something to say too.
Well, go ahead, Rob.
I just wanted to say real quick, it's like trying to fit a square shape into a round hole. These people that think they want to believe that they can be whatever they want to be, and that that their dissatisfaction or their self-loathing is going to be cured. No, it's just going to be expounded upon. Like, it's just going to be expanded. It's just going to multiply, because you're still going to be miserable and sad and full of self-loathing and deformed. And that comes from a place of concern. It's not like I am especially interested in ridiculing people about their life choices. I don't give a fuck. Do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, this is not what somebody of sound mind does not mutilate their own body because they have some mental illness going on.
I wanted to say real quick, like, from a writing perspective, like, as a writer, you have to be, like, your characters are only as clever and as well put together as you are in many instances, and you cannot maintain a fantasy of like a well-rounded, well-adjusted adult if you are not one. And I think this is part of the reason that, or at least you have some inkling of human nature and the reality of cause and effect, and the understanding of how your values and your choices and your mistakes and everything like cause a bunch of problems, and how awful like misinformation can be, and like working under misconceptions. Like, you have to have a good understanding of human nature to be a good writer. And that's why when people talk about Tolkien and like the Rings of Power stuff that's coming out, it's kind of like laughable, because Tolkien was a genius. He knew a lot about history. His theology was on point in many terms. He had a really good basis for understanding worlds and building on worldviews, and world, like his own little, like with Silmarillion. And he was a professor of language, so he understood how languages evolved and how they became imperfect. And like, part of the reason that he wrote Lord of the Rings is because he needed a people to like add character and imperfections to the Elvish language that he was like writing at the time. So he actually kind of like reverse engineered the story from the language, and it's really interesting, stuff like that. And look at, in comparison, like, look at the lady who's writing the League of Her Own stuff. Does she have any interest in softball? I don't know. So far, the only thing that she's really put forward is that, hey, I'm a lesbian, and but I mean, at the same time, it's like, can't you tell a good story about that without taking something that's already made and trying to remake it? Or I mean, as much as they try to make it into something like super big and super important and all encompassing, it's really not, if that's the case. And I think
I think I figured it out. I don't know. I'm sorry. I finish your point, but
no, I'm just saying, like, we have such good writers from the past, and even like if I read stuff from like even the 90s, it's so much smarter and so much more, maybe like wrong in its science, maybe, but it's still got a lot more of the spirit of it, like just goodwill and ambition in many cases.
People had more class back then.
Yeah.
Everything just feels like a shit post now at best.
Now, this Abbi Jacobson woman, if I may jump back to her for one moment, I think I figured it out. She wants the controversy of being a lesbian. She doesn't want to be accepted as a lesbian. She wants the controversy
right
of being a lesbian. She wants the bigotry because that sells her whole freaking point. It may have taken me a while to finally get this, but goddamn, I finally got it. But
you
it's
mean
like,
you only just now realize that a lot of these
hat
people are
is
driven by
explaining.
narcissism?
Yeah.
oh, I've always known they're narcissistic, but it's like, it's not that they're narcissistic, it's that they're masochistic. They
Well-
want the hate. They want to feel down. They want to feel this hatred because it makes them feel good in some sort of sycophantic
Well,
validated. That
It
their point is
offers meaning.
validated.
It offers meaning too. It's like, oh, I'm in all this pain and I can't solve it myself, so it must be someone else's fault. But if I like revel in it and use it as my superpower, and which is kind of like with like Riri Williams, is that her name? Yeah, Riri.
Yeah.
The actress.
Yeah, it's I mean, like, it's not even the actress necessarily, but the whole story is that she's just so alone and self-concerned, and like, this is a hero to these people when it's just, that's not actually how it works.
Yeah, and I'll make a point to this one too before we jump on to our next topic. Is that obviously, if you guys watch my Twitter, we saw the movie Bodies, Bodies, Bodies yesterday. And it's a movie where it's easily my worst film so far this year, and that's saying something because I pretty much told everyone that Not Okay was the worst one, and that was like 2 weeks. But it's a film where I watched this movie and I think to myself, are the people who are writing these films, do they actually think that these characters are somewhat redeemable or likable in any kind of way? Because they write them in such an unlikable way. It's like they can't possibly think that anyone's going to identify with any of these characters that are on screen. But you also have to think they're so narcissistic that they think that, oh, well, here's a interracial lesbian couple who are both likable, but because they're interracial lesbian couple, that's going to make the people at home identify with them. It's like, no, not at all. Because you're watching that as a slasher movie, which is not really a slasher movie at all. But if this is a movie where people are going to die, I just want everyone in this film to die. Like, I want there to be no survivors by the time the credit rolls, because that's how unlikable these people are. And just a real quick, before we wrap this up with Rob, and he's a big fan of the Revenge of the Sith guys. I don't know if he remembers this one from a couple of years ago. Just shows you how crazy and absurd our world has become. Remember when they were shutting down football games and telling people that they could only have like 10 people at their Thanksgivings? They couldn't have no more than 10, and y'all have to wear a mask. And I think it was Mersh that literally had the realization of like, oh my God, the government is literally telling us that for Thanksgiving, we can only have 10 people in our homes. They all have to wear a mask. And then when we're done eating, we all have to sit down and watch the Dallas Cowboys face off against the Washington football team. It's like we've become such a dystopian, ridiculous nightmare. It's just so sad.
Well, I just listening to everybody else's thoughts. I had two thoughts. I get a good amount of feedback from gay perspectives that are not necessarily shared in the mainstream news, which is basically like, for kind of for years the gay community has kind of been accepting, but just as questioning about the trans community. You never hear this, but it's just like, you get this perspective from artists that maybe grew up during the 60s, who were Gen Xers and are kind of like a little bit more, they've got a little tougher skin. And the thing about masochism, that's very interesting. I have for a long time believed that I am like, at least like symbolically, and especially the art I love, a masochist, because I love like the tragic ending. And like, it's very bleak. But the more that the more time that's gone on, it's more, I guess I use those to sort of remind myself how disappointing life is, but it's not like a self-pitying thing. And I think a lot of these people, it really comes down to, it's easier to pretend to be a victim than to take responsibility as an individual and say, I am responsible for my place in life, ultimately. Yes, I mean, there are things that can happen, like stories we like to tell ourselves, but really, we are ultimately responsible for where we are and how we move on from our current predicament.
I was going to ask, is your favorite movie Terminator 3? Because that has one of the most tragic endings ever.
No, I'll say, it's hard to pinpoint my favorite movie, but one of my favorite movies is Chinatown. because that ending is just utter bleak. There's no hope. You're not going to overcome the corrupt influences that surround you. And all you can hopefully do is not make it any worse.
No, I wasn't saying that to make fun of you. I was.
No, it's fine.
I was because I know you said you like those kind of tragic things, and
Terminator
I was thinking
2. Terminator 2. I, as a kid, cried all the time at that ending because it's sad. It's his pseudo dad, basically. I mean, kind of thing. So
it's the closest thing he ever had to a father that literally said, "I can't live right now because if I do, everything bad is going to happen."
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to our next topic because, like we said here, is that obviously Disney is one of the main studios that is going all in on this LGBTQ narrative and push, where all their characters are gay, lesbian, trans, even the ones in the kid shows. Well, now governments, not our government, but foreign governments, are standing up to Disney by saying that we've had enough of your shit and we're basically going to do everything possible to make sure that your content cannot be viewed in our country. So this was the first part of the story, which broke earlier this week, which led on to another one. So Disney, keep in mind, this is after going to war with the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis about the quote unquote "Don't Say Gay" bill, which ended up losing their special Reedy Creek district as a result. But they went to war over Florida and Republicans over this because we can't teach transgenderism to kindergartners anymore. This is going to get trans kids killed. This was their narrative for months, and they said that we're going to create more content here in the United States in order to fight back against Republicans. Well, other countries are not very happy with this increase of LGBTQ representation. So they're saying that no more. We're not showing any more of this stuff in your countries anymore. So as a result, Disney Plus is now removing all LGBTQ content from the Middle Eastern countries to comply with local censorship. So this was the first part of the story that broke earlier this week, that Disney, a couple of Disney movies, which was Lightyear, which had the lesbian couple that you see here in this picture. That movie bombed massively at the box office. It probably lost upwards to $100 million to maybe even $200 million at the box office because the amount of money that they put into it with marketing and production. Because they decided they were going to front load a lesbian couple in a kids movie, and a lot of parents said we're not going to take our kids to go see that, so they end up losing a whole bunch of money. Because of that, it also got banned in a lot of Middle Eastern countries as well. Other movies that got banned in Middle Eastern countries was Thor: Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, West Side Story, and Eternals, because every single one of these films has some gay, lesbian, or transgender characters in the film, which is obviously against the religious codes for a lot of these countries. So in order to keep Disney Plus running in the Middle East, they decided that they're just going to remove all of these films from the region and that they're not going to play them there anymore because essentially the Middle East is threatening to cut them off en masse. So they don't want to lose that Saudi money that they always complain about. They don't want to lose the Qatar money, the Dubai, and all these other cases. So they're just going to remove them altogether, right? Well, here's the thing. Malaysia is actually taking this a step further. They're saying that they're going to actively combat Disney when it comes to the gay and transgender content in these films. Essentially, they say that they had enough, and then they're going to make sure that none of these movies can be viewed in their country at all. So Malaysia was one of 16 Muslim majority countries that banned the majority of these films. And now they're actively calling out Disney. So here you have the Deputy Communications Multimedia Minister, Zahid Zahu Abidin from Malaysia, who says that on Wednesday that he's committed, the government of Malaysia is committed to fighting back against the LGBTQ culture of Disney and other corporations here in the United States. And he straight up blamed Western influence for the spread of this propaganda in their country. He says that I am frustrated because the outside world is the one that's promoting the LGBTQ. He said recently there was a film that did not pass our censorship, which is the new Thor movie. Because Thor had the whole thing with the gay rocks, and Valkyrie is also a gay character in that film. So they banned the film from the region because of that. And he says that the movie touched on the LGBTQ, but where we see right now many films with LGBTQ elements that slip past our censor. So they're going after Disney's now, saying that we're no longer going to allow you guys to promote this stuff in our country anymore. And keep in mind, you're talking about a country in Malaysia where if you're found guilty of same-sex relations, you can face up to 20 years in prison and a mandatory whipping as a punishment. So these are one of the countries that we're talking about here. And they talked about how they're working on fighting loopholes in streaming services, because apparently, even though they can prevent movies from being released in theaters, they're still having issues with streaming services. So like Netflix obviously has like a whole bunch of like gay stuff on there, like maybe like half their content has gay characters, but because Netflix is outside of their country, they don't have parameters within their constitution to ban it right now, but they're also looking into ways of cutting down on that as well. And like I said, over the last few months, Disney has made big pleas talking about LGBTQ representation is going to be a priority with their stuff. We can see that in the casting over the last few months. Like they're committed to having as much gay and lesbian stuff in TV shows and in movies as humanly possible. But now they've gotten to a point where they've pissed off a number of countries where they do not want this anymore. The countries that real quick, the countries that banned this, like I said, Saudi Arabia, the United Emirates, Egypt, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, Malaysia, and Indonesia are just a few of the countries that are on this list. So yeah, a lot of these foreign markets are now starting to push back against all the stuff that they're jamming down our throats because they don't want to be jamming down their throats as well. So this is obviously going to be a divisive topic, because I've heard a lot of people kind of give both thoughts to where they don't believe in censorship, but at the same time, you have countries that have been very clear that they do not promote this type of behavior in their countries, and that's the way they go. So, well, what do you think about Malaysia and a lot of these other Middle Eastern countries essentially going to war with Disney and Hollywood about their LGBTQ representation?
Well, it's my favorite two groups. It's let's see, religious theocracies who censor art. Even if you don't like it, or I don't like Disney, but it's like I'm not in favor of censorship. And then corporations who pretend they're like above criticism, and so who are just making shit these days. So I hate both of these groups because Disney's a bunch of hypocrites who wants to talk about their LGBTQ messaging and then still sell their products in literal religious theocracies where people are killed because they don't follow what the law is. And so it's like nobody's a good guy here. I guess we can applaud these countries for standing up what they believe in. I personally just don't agree with censorship, but hey, at least they're sticking to their guns, right? And they sadly look more credible than, Disney does.
I gotta say, I have never been so proud of the fact that I actually have to say that I can no longer say that Disney is the real life version of Weyland-Yutani, because
not the corporation.
Now,
the Alien Corporation. Okay.
Yeah, from Alien,
right?
Where they basically ruled the world with an iron fist and stuff.
Yeah,
that was basically what Disney was heading toward. But now that the world decided to stand up and say, stop your fucking shit, we're no longer going along with it, I can't do it. I can't call them Weyland-Yutani anymore. Thank you, world. You actually made me a happy person. As for how, non-progressive these people in these countries are, depending on your point of view, they're allowed to dictate their country's way of life, beholden to tradition or religion or whatever. That is their choice.
Mm-hmm.
It is Disney that should have to respect that. Also, going back to into the movie thing for a little bit, I love how they use the Eternal's kiss as some sort of powerful message in this article. That kiss looked so fucking forced. I could have sworn the actor was literally looking at his husband saying, just fucking get it over with, will you? I mean, they're saying, I remember the promotional material. It was so beautiful. We all were crying. Yeah, because they were you were crying with tears of joy because you were forcing two men who didn't want to kiss to kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, you call that a powerful moment. I call that mouth rape.
It's like
for
the
the
kiss in
actors,
the
it may have
Office
been.
episode.
For the actors, yeah. They didn't even look like they wanted to kiss.
Yeah.
But
I
good on the world, man. They're finally firing back at Disney and saying no more. I love it.
feel bad for the poor Malaysia government official that has to probably watch all this Disney bullshit just to see which has like all this fucking LGBT bullshit in it. And Rob's right. There's no good guy in this situation because I
There
also
isn't. No, you're right.
I oppose censorship. But we have to understand that this is a company that wants to indoctrinate children, wants to ruin the natural growth of a child's mind. This is definitely devious. It's grooming in nature. It's disgusting. It really is disgusting that they want. Look,
like I said, just real quick here is that you had when this whole conflict is essentially two extremes on the far end of the equation, right? So on one hand, you have a country like Malaysia who jails gay people for 20 years and gives them public whippings, and to be honest with you, that's probably the most progressive punishment compared to countries like Saudi Arabia where they'll just straight up execute you.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say that's a light sentence.
Yeah. And then on the other side of it, you have the other side of the spectrum where you have this corporation that's completely committed to pushing all of this the drag queen, transgender, gay ideology, not only onto just like general population, but specifically towards your kids, because they want your kids to embrace and be a part of this narrative too. So essentially you have groomers and, like I said, a religious, authoritarian state feuding off against each other here, and the way I see it, it's like, just let them fight. Let's see who actually wins.
Like that meme.
World's gonna win.
Let them fight.
As much as I hate pedophiles and groomers, and they get what's coming to them. They want to mutilate kids, both mind and body.
Yeah,
the world, as evil as some of their practices are in Malaysia and the Middle East and whatnot, they have every right to basically issue Disney a reality check. You are not going to show your backwards material in our countries. Mm-hmm. This is not what we want. You are trying to force people to be beholden to your way of thinking. That's not what we're about.
And then another thing with companies like Disney, what they're doing is that you're making it entirely impossible to defend anyone on the LGBTQ because of what you're doing. Because in countries that say you want to say, oh yeah, it's wrong just to kill gay people and trans people in countries like Saudi Arabia, but they're looking at us and saying that no, we have to do this because if we don't, then you're going to have people that are going to try to corrupt your children. We can't allow that. And it's like, well, yeah, we don't want people corrupting our kids too, but how do you fight two opposite ends of the extreme spectrum? Like, you can't, because they're basically pointing at each other and saying, well, I'm doing this because of them. So you're moving even further apart with this whole thing. So like I said, it's not an ideal situation for either one. But like I said, I'm not rooting for anyone. Just go ahead and fight this one out. So hopefully one of you guys loses.
I will say, like, there's another angle to it too. Malaysia has a really hard history in terms of government stability, and like that general area has problems with civil war and government coups and everything. And like it or not, like religion focuses a lot on the family development, and the family is statistically the easiest way to maintain some kind of control and authoritarian, like keep people in line, keep traditions, keep like cultural identity, and a lot of these things that they're concerned about. Like on a lot of levels, they look at America and they're like, you have too much freedom, that it's causing you too much chaos,
self-destruction.
And
America's an experiment.
Well, even like one of the more interesting articles I've read, I forget who wrote it, but he was a very famous atheist, and he was talking about how Africa needs God to kind of break the chains of like their shaman superstitions so they can move forward and progress and develop more technology and everything like that, and so they can have better lives and more people can live good lives. And
So this is an atheist that says another country needs God.
Well,
Yeah, it
I
just
mean,
kinda
yeah,
shows you just
it's
how
a very
broken we
famous
are now,
article.
right?
It was like,
I'm
from,
just
like,
trying to wrap my head
I mean,
around that.
yeah,
From the
and it's
argument of a
because
technological, like, not being where, you know, second and first world countries are. They have to get
Well,
to
I
a
mean, I
What
certain
does
know
point.
God have to do with technological advancement?
Well,
because science was
he's
born out
not
of
he's not
Christianity
saying
and
necessarily
the
God
tradition.
exists, but maybe this type of tradition can help get this particular group of people out
Right.
of their bad situation.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's
Possibly.
one of the
Maybe.
one of the things people fail to like recognize in today's society is that like the scientific revolution was born out of Christianity because it was born out of this idea that God has created laws and that he's made himself revealed through his creation, and there's laws that govern these things and you can figure things out. Like there's a certain way that things are that go a certain way. Like there's cause and effect. There's if you have a like if a woman is pregnant, she's not pregnant with puppies, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was
Think
born out
about
of this
another
idea that the
question.
world is discoverable and knowable and testable. And that's how you get the scientific method. And that's how you got
Right.
a lot of technology and advancement and better ways of learning things and advancements in horticulture and animal husbandry, in physics. I mean, I know you probably might not recognize it today, but it's one of the, like I said, one of the freeing things about God is that you understand that he's made this world and it's made a certain way, and we can discover all sorts of secrets everywhere around us with that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm-
so the idea that Malaysia is coming around and saying, "Hey, look, you can't do this because we don't believe this," first of all, and then second of all, it's going to hurt their society. I mean, look at all the. I mean, the LGBTQ community doesn't naturally reproduce, so it's not going to offer much in terms of like generations of labor or traditions or legacies for families. It's going to encourage a lot more. That lifestyle encourages a lot more hedonism just because there is no procreation involved. It's a kind of like a lighting a candle and letting it burn out type of situation.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I saw this at Disney World when I went last year. It's like these people walk around like with buttons that say "proud childless adults" walking around like that's like a button that you can buy. Like, why are you catering to these people? These are like it was a family place.
Well,
Like I went
that's
when I
another
was a kid,
thing.
and so
Just real quick, like I always hear
yeah.
this question of people saying, like, why are we catering to these people? It's like it's not that they're catering to these people. These people are the ones that are in control. Just like we talked about the Abbi Jacobson story. Like she's the co-creator of the series, so she's gonna create the series to mold her own personal views. And a lot of these executives at Disney are all, you know, they're lesbians, they have trans kids, they have gay kids, so they're all going to. You wonder why, you know, why are we catering to such a minority? It's like it's not the fact they're just a minority. It's like the minority are the ones that are in charge, and that's why you're seeing all this stuff, all these programs. They pretty much control all this stuff. That's why you're seeing it.
When it comes to these governments, and from a libertarian standpoint, it's like my overall desire is to not be told what to do, and in that basic thing, I also have to grant that same response in return. So while I do not necessarily like the way these authoritarian countries are run, I have to respect them to do what they do because I want people to respect what I do and leave me the fuck alone. So I have to come to the conclusion that other countries are going to be the way that they are. I don't necessarily agree with it, but at the end of the day, I want to be who I am, and you guys got to be who you are. I don't like it, but that's not for me to judge. I don't really live there. And when it comes to Disney, it's like they want to inject themselves in a way that's unnatural in trying to influence the minds of people as young as children. Now, if people in these countries like Malaysia naturally come to these conclusions that, oh, I'm gay or I'm trans or I'm lesbian, it's not directly influenced by Western culture or something. I mean, like, look, you know, I want people to be who they are at the end of the day. I don't want them to feel influenced from a young age and groomed into thinking they're these people. These people that they want to push all this shit, their overall goal is for you to never learn how to accept yourself. And that is, to me, I think that is the one key factor that turns you from like a child into an adult. When you come to terms with who you are and you can accept that, then you can move on. Because these people are the ones that they don't know how to accept themselves, but they demand that you accept them. And that's not how the world works. It's completely unnatural. And everything they want to push is completely unfucking natural. So I understand why these countries reject their stupid fucking ideology. It makes no sense. It's not helpful in any way, shape, or form. It isn't productive. It's unnatural.
Yeah. I mean, put it to you this way. When you have these videos circulating online of like drag queens half naked dancing in front of children, do you think that's going to make countries like Malaysia and Saudi Arabia more progressive or less progressive? Like, what do you think the natural reaction to seeing that is going to be?
Well,
well, I mean, in America too, we have so much freedom because of technology, and we still have a lot of structure to our society that's intact. So you can handle a lot of crazy in America. I mean, that's part of the reason that we're known for it, like Florida Man and everything.
Yeah, ungovernable.
So it's like I said, it's Malaysia can't handle that. As a government, I think Disney makes an easy target for their ire, and I think it's justified on some levels. And I do think that they have their right to national sovereignty to decide those things. And I agree with you too about, like, at the end of the day, they're probably not going to become more progressive by looking at this stuff.
No.
Well,
I mean,
these people though, like they stay children. They either stay children, or it's like they go through a cycle where they regress back to childhood. And so I don't know if Disney is just trying to keep people perpetually, like, to keep them children, or it's like don't have kids and feed into hedonism and just keep. I mean, it's like Pinocchio. It's like going to the big circus tent and falling for the trick or whatever. And it's like you're just in this cycle of hedonism, and you never grow up. You never have kids of your own. You never pass on constructive life lessons, and you just die out.
Yeah, and it's more like Peter Pan too in that respect too, where you become an active agent and recruiting other lost people.
I mean, the way that I see it is basically Disney has gone the they live route, except that it's woke. They want you to do all these disgusting things, and the world is now seeing what Disney is all about. As much as like you guys all say, they're both villains in this case, and let them fight it out. When I say good on these other countries, good on Malaysia and whatnot, I'm not saying that I support their way of life. I'm not saying that. I am simply saying good on them for standing up for what they believe in and standing by their own values. Do I agree with them? No. However, they have a right to do that. Disney does not have a right to push their views onto another. Nobody does. It's why I said earlier, America is the biggest and most long-lived experiment that is continuously ongoing. We have so much freedom. Now we're seeing the results of what too much freedom is or what happens when we have so much freedom. It starts to be abused.
Yeah, I would just push back on that because I think most people are stupid and lazy, and so I just put that in that category.
Well, yes,
we do have maximum freedom, but it's also idiots will absolutely either abuse it, not appreciate it, or let it go by the wayside. And so I'm like, well, fuck everybody else. I'm going to do what's right for me. And
it's a misunderstood concept too, because liberty is not the same thing as license. Like, just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean that you should do something.
Right.
And I think that's something that like a lot of people, when they think about freedom and free will and things like that, that's what they kind of get mixed up. It's like,
I argue that there's not enough liberty, and the reason why I'm a libertarian is because ideally, if government worked properly, essentially government and these giant corporations would keep each other at a reasonable length. But
or if government just didn't work with these corporations to begin with, which is why so many of them have power.
They would push back on each other and keep each other in check. Ideally, that's what I think government would be like good if that was the case. I've come to the reality that that isn't the case. It's never going to happen. So I do not want I don't want the government controlling me. I don't want these giant corporations controlling me. I argue that there is not enough liberty. These people do have, these giant ass corporations and government have too much power and control. They are too big. They are too fucking evil. And I think that is the biggest problem at the end of the day.
Well, I think it's a failure of checks and balances, to be honest.
It is. I don't think that there's any way to fix it. And I think that, to be honest with you, I think that our Constitution is an interesting document that I think for the most part, like, it's not bad, but it's just not foolproof, despite how good I think it's written to be carried on for this long and still like be a thing and still work in a lot of strange instances. It's almost not possible to foolproof anything.
It's like the meme that goes out there when it's like, when you go back in time, it's like, okay, write as if you're talking to a 12-year-old, right? Like, you dumb it down even further so that it can't be misconstrued. But yeah.
There's a wonderful saying out there, and it came from a video game. Nothing is true, everything is permitted. Now, to break that down, just for a small moment.
Well, that's actually a Dostoevsky's quote. It's, if God is dead, everything is permissible.
Well, exactly. Nothing is true. Everybody has their own interpretation, and they declare it true, so that or if everything is true, then that means nothing is true. Mm-hmm. To say that everything is permitted is to live your life, much like a libertarian. You live your life the way you see fit. However, you need to accept the consequences of how you live your life. You can do anything you want. However, you have to live with what happens because of how you live.
Right.
No doubt.
So if I say that, or if everything is permitted, if I was to go out and say murder somebody, I have to deal with the consequences that what I have done earns me a jail cell for life. Also, the hatred of many others and whatnot. Now,
I think you're being idealistic
that's
there.
the great thing as with libertarianism, because the idea of murdering someone is pushing my force upon this other individual,
exactly.
Which is the exact opposite of libertarianism.
Exactly. Right. Now, I'm not saying that is exactly what that means. When I say that the whole everything is permitted, you have to deal with, or I'm not saying a person should go out and kill anybody, not by a long shot.
Make it very clear.
I am simply saying that you live your life the way you want to live it, but you have to be willing to accept what consequences come your way because of that choice.
Right.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah. So the Middle East is fighting back against Disney's BS. Like I say, you pretty much know my fight. It's like, I hope they guys fight, and I hope somebody loses, only because I just want one of them to go away at this point.
To be dumbed down a bit.
It's a fight to let them fight, but don't root for either, or don't root for a side. It's
you sell tickets and popcorn, and you just enjoy the spectacle.
Yeah, you're just selling the tickets to make the profit by selling the tickets, but you don't bet on a winner.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, just let them fight. That'll make us the winners in the end, because they'll be distracted and they won't bother with us while they're fighting each other.
Exactly.
So
it's great misdirection.
We win.
Well, we're on this kick. It seems like we've been talking about this community all night, so let's just keep it going.
Yeah.
Talk about our favorite guy in the entire world, Mr. Ezra Miller, who it seems like we've done 11 of these so far. I think he's been a topic, maybe about 6 or 7 of them up to this point, because the story just always changes with this guy. So yeah, Ezra Miller earlier this week was charged on felony burglary from stealing alcohol from an unoccupied home in Vermont. So let me just go ahead the best way that I can recap this. So this all kind of started back in like February and March. He got arrested when I guess he was harassing some couple at a karaoke bar and got kicked out. Then like a couple of days later, he ended up getting arrested again because he was harassing a completely separate couple, like stealing some of their stuff and whatnot. So he got arrested again. Then the next thing you know, there's stories about him housing a woman and her 3 kids in a Vermont home, and there's like firearms and booze and weed that's just all over the place around these kids. Then you have the allegations that he was grooming multiple young women. By young women, I mean teenage girls, into the lifestyle of the LGBTQ community, where they now refer to himself as they, them. And then on top of that, you have this new incident where apparently he was stealing things from an unoccupied home. You also have allegations that he's driving around the country with a firearm and a bulletproof vest, thinking that the KKK and the FBI are after him. This guy has been just a complete dumpster fire of a human being over the last 6 months. I mean, we can safely say. We think to ourselves, well, any day now, Warner Brothers is going to come in. They're going to drop the hammer on him because they can't just keep letting this stuff happen. He's creating too much bad press. But then you have this story that came out right after that apparently Ezra Miller worked on additional photography for the Flash movie following his numerous arrests and grooming allegations. So while, like I said, Rob, remember he was asking this a whole bunch of times, like, aren't the cops looking for him? Like, where is he? Like, why couldn't they find him? Well, apparently he was laying low because in between his arrest, which was August 9th, that Miller was taking part of regularly scheduled film shoots up until August the 7th, earlier this year, when he was charged for the felony burglary. So they had been, I guess, keeping him on down low. He was laying low for a while they were sorting all this out, because Warner Brothers has not come out at all. They haven't condemned Ezra Miller in any way, shape, or form since this whole thing has started. They haven't come out and said that the movie's in any danger of being canceled yet, at least not publicly. So
until recently.
Yeah, until recently. And we'll get to that again in a second. So it seems like to me that they were waiting for this whole thing just to kind of like die down, so that maybe people will just forget by the time that next summer comes around, this movie comes out. But every other couple of weeks there's like a new wrinkle in the story. So now the word is that they're trying to decide on 3 options. They decide on having Ezra Miller do one of those like Good Morning America puff pieces where he talks to people about all the allegations and kind of calms everything down. That way they can move on with the filming of the movie. The second option is that they just go forward with the marketing of the film without Ezra Miller being involved at all, which is a stupid option because he's still the star of the movie and plays a large role in the film. So how are you going to promote this film without him and try not to address the elephant in the room? That's just dumb. Or the third option is that you just cancel the movie altogether. Now, what I've heard repeatedly, the reason why they haven't just outright canceled this film yet is because as of right now, they've invested about $200 to $300 million into the production of this film, which includes reshoots. And this film was apparently pivotal in the next like 3 or 4 upcoming DCEU projects, because this film was supposed to set the stage for, Batgirl, Supergirl, Aquaman, Michael Keaton's character, all this other stuff. They had the entire future of the DCEU relying on Ezra Miller. And for some reason, they didn't realize that was a terrible fucking idea. So now here we are. So, like I said, he's arrested again. I mean, he got charged with nothing. We don't know where this is going to go. We don't know where all the other allegations and stuff that's happened. But this has been an ongoing dumpster fire for him with years now.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you guys know the story. What do you guys think about Ezra Miller and Warner Brothers desperately trying to keep this Flash movie afloat?
See, I'm probably the only person alive that's like excited for the movie at this point, because I want them to like at the end, I want him to die and like get really beat up in the end.
You say that in the most like mellow way possible. It makes it so much funnier.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that.
Well, I mean, like, think about it. This is the ultimate fan service. Is if you get Ezra Miller and you punch him in the face a bunch of times, you kick him in the balls, it's the ultimate. Like,
I just want Superman to grab him by both ends and just snap his fucking back across his knee, please. Thank you.
And I mean, like, you can make it nice and tasteful, but just let in. It's fine. I mean, like, that's the ultimate solution there. You've sunk all this money in this person that turned out to be a terrible investment. You're probably not going to get any money back.
That's the only way everyone wins. If he ends up dying at the end in the most fulfilling way for the audience.
They bring back Henry Cavill's Superman. He just punches him into the sun, and that's the end of his character.
So Flash has to go back in time, and he pulls out, and he has to he pulls Henry Cavill's character out, and then if he does this, he has to die, and it would just be he's so beat up, he has no power left, and he makes the choice to bring Superman in to take over. It's perfect, done.
It would be great as if it's Superman competing against the Flash, because Superman's trying to save Lois, and the Flash is trying to save the world from an alternate universe or something, and he has to. It's they have to kill each other to get to the conclusion they need. So I don't know. It's
the whole thing with the Justice League was save the one, right? Okay.
Here's my question.
He saves the one by dying for the one.
Okay, so my question was their plan to do some kind of offshoot of the Justice League, the Justice Society of America with Supergirl, Batgirl, the Flash, Michael Keaton's Batman? What was their plan? Because
JSA is coming in Black Adam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the plan that up to this point, before David Zaslav came and blew everything up, they were going to replace Batman with Batgirl. They were going to replace Henry Cavill's Superman with Supergirl, and they were also going to do a black Superman character with Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams. Obviously, Ezra Miller was supposed to be the they-them Flash character, and then they also wanted to bring back Michael Keaton to be Old Man Batman. And then somehow keep Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa in the mix as well. But I'm pretty sure they would have gotten phased out as well, too. So
a DC movie without Batman and Superman, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. Honestly, it's just not.
To be fair, just real quick, David Zaslav has come out and said, "Yeah, that's fucking stupid. We're not doing that." Which is part of the reason why he canceled that Batgirl movie, because it's we're not replacing one of our most profitable properties in Batman with this terrible Batgirl actress. It's just not going to happen. So.
But the whole Kevin Smith comments.
He's also a Snyder Cut guy.
The Flash was 4 times what Batgirl costs, right? 360 million basically. And so it's that makes perfect sense why one was canceled and one wasn't, even if they're both dumpster fires.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the old guard is they were just involved in their political absolute fucking nonsense buffoonery. And I keep saying this because it pisses me off. This motherfucker shows us that we are second class, arguably third class citizens in our own fucking country, because we would have been strung up. If we would have been doing the shit he's been doing, we would be in jail. We would be in jail until we had to see.
Not only that,
we had court hearings. Period.
Not only that, that's just from the legal perspective. Look at this from a studio perspective, a Hollywood perspective. How much are they going to allow Ezra Miller to get away with? Because they've pulled the leash on people for far less than what Ezra Miller has done.
Did nothing. He did nothing, and they hate him. Yeah, the only thing he was guilty of is being knowledgeable of his fucking character. That's the only thing I could really think of. And they threw him under the bus. They threw Johnny Depp under the bus. It's a joke, man.
They blacklisted fucking Gina Carano over an Instagram meme. Yep. She got completely blacklisted from Hollywood.
They the 3 choices that they did, they actually asked people on Facebook, and I actually gave them a whole string of stuff that's you guys gotta look. You guys are money. Zaslav, dude, my man. You are looking at this from a making money perspective, yes? Well, think of it this way. Ezra Miller is not just a menace to society. He is a menace the world over. Berlin, UK, Iceland, the United States. That is 4 freaking countries that this man is mired in controversy. This man is allegedly grooming children, has brought them over to the UK, hence the UK. He menaced a woman in Berlin. He choked out a woman in Iceland. He's been terrorizing the Hawaiian Isles. He had the police called on him 12 times in Hawaii. Just those 3 incidences that we all heard about, but several times before that were with minor incidences. This person is not likable. He is a male version of Amber Heard. Except
Just real quick before I let you go on, is that it wasn't like he was unlikable just over the last like couple of years. Like he's been unlikable from the jump. I talk about this all the time. You guys remember the interview with Gal Gadot that he did when they were promoting Justice League back in like 2016? Where
he wanted her to say something.
Yeah, say something about condemning the hetero patriarchal whatever kind of bullshit.
Down with the patriarchy, some shit.
And you could clearly tell that she was like completely uncomfortable, didn't want to go along with like anything that he was saying whatsoever. It's like they should have known then that this dude was a fucking problem, and they still invested in him because he has they them pronouns, so he's bulletproof, and he's running around like he's bulletproof.
I mean,
literally.
And like you said, they want things to die down and then see how things are going, and it's like, okay, things are finally dying down. And then you hear fucking Ezra Miller in the background saying, hey, fuckers, boom! Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, Ezra. And now everybody's already, or you got the whole media swarming him already. And it's like, you guys don't get it. He's not going to stop.
Yeah.
Did you hear that
doing this because he's getting away with it?
Yeah, the woman and the 3 kids that supposedly were staying with him too are missing. I don't know if anybody had heard that too in the news article. Like apparently they haven't located the woman and her 3 kids. So I'm like,
shit.
Is he responsible for their disappearance?
I mean, at this point, he can.
Jesus, dude.
There's a realistic possibility that Ezra Miller is somewhere in the fucking boonies, like with a fucking Charles Manson cult, and no one's even talking about it right now.
Remember when I said, like, don't be surprised if this dude turns out to be like a fucking cult leader and raising a cult? Like, and people thought I was a little bit hyperbolic, and I'm like, I know these types of dudes in the back of my fucking mind. Like, I could fucking I literally was like, yo, watch this dude be like on the level of Charles Manson in terms of what he's trying to do. He may not be there. To be honest with you, I think he's a punk fucking bitch. Exactly. Like he's a punk fucking bitch, but he's been able to get away with doing the things that he's been doing. So it's made him bold because I can use my pronouns to get away with all this bullshit. But in reality, he's a punk fucking bitch that just needs to get his chin checked. In my personal opinion, that would fix a lot of his attitude. But he also does need to be thrown in the fucking cell.
And as I said, they're like, what options would you want? 1, 2, or 3? I'm like, all of them. First off, you're going to have this, or don't release the movie, but do have this man get the help he needs. And then if he does turn out, I don't know, somehow redeemable, I doubt he will, he can try explaining his shit. 2 was the movie is still released. He doesn't do any press whatsoever, and he's never working for them again. 3, they shelve it completely. First off, shelve the damn movie. Nobody's going to watch it. Mm-hmm. You've pissed off too many people.
This is the type of dude, though, that's never, ever going to come to terms with anything he's done is his fault.
No, he isn't.
He's just going to be blaming everyone fucking else.
Hence why I say all 3, because the second option, you fire him and you still release the movie and you don't market it or have him market it. You fire him, you don't release the movie, but you fire him. And the first option, you get him the freaking help. You send his ass to jail. Take it from a person who has actually been behind bars. Guess what they have in jail? A mental health wing. Yeah. They allow people with mental problems to be in jail, even though they have mental problems. Because they have the mental health wing, they can have this they-them horror movie piece of shit go to the mental health wing, and they can hop him up on his damn meds. Get him back on his meds if he has any. I mean, you had this kid who freaking runs away and takes shelter in Ezra Miller's house. What is your husband? Who was your husband, woman?
Well, the woman in question with the 3 kids was in a domestic dispute with her husband, and she took the kids to Ezra Miller's compound.
She's a crackpot who believes in crystals and shit anyway. Like, I mean, we're talking about people that are asking to be taken advantage of.
I mean, is her husband a serial killer? Because honestly, who would go to Ezra Miller? to hide.
Here's the thing.
Hold
Like
on a
in a
second.
lot of situations, like women will say, "Oh, my husband is a potential murderer," all the things in the book, but really it's mostly to just keep the kids out of the hands of the father. I'm not saying that's the situation necessarily, but that does happen a lot where they demonize the father. Meanwhile, the father's just like, "No, my ex-wife is a terrible fucking mother, and I'm trying to save my kids from this terrible fucking human being." And I know someone that's like that, and it's
let's hold on here a second, because Josh is begging to come into the screen. So I hope Josh has something to contribute here, because I know he's been dying to get on there. Are you there, Josh, or are you whispering?
Right. Yeah. Hello.
What's up, girl?
Yes. No. Of course, I've got nothing, mate. I'm like what, like 2 hours late.
Yeah.
Yes.
The night's still young, Josh. Thanks for coming.
No, I'm like the you know. I don't know if you guys play Pokemon. I don't really play hi. I don't really play Pokemon, but you know that legendary Pokemon that shows up at the end of the episode. Well, I don't want to be,
Ho ho.
Yeah, in the first
okay,
episode.
I play Pokemon, so
yeah. I haven't played Pokemon like, I don't know, 20 years.
I'm playing it right
20
now.
years. Yep. Game Boy. Yep.
There you go.
The OG.
Gold and silver. Then I left.
Damn
Red,
straight.
blue. Red and blue. That's it. Red and blue.
Well, the one thing that I want to say about Ezra Miller, though, is that, well, there are way too many stakes, at play. Yes. And the problem with the movie at the moment is that I think they're just going to lose money just anyway. And they're going to tarnish their reputation as well. But Warner Bros., I mean. Because they're enabling this kind of like behavior, even by not condemning the whole thing. That's just basically just enabling.
Keep in mind, they haven't even once come out and said we're aware of the situation and we're monitoring it. They haven't even threw out one of those responses. They've just completely ignored it altogether.
They knew who it was as well. He was doing what reshoots.
Yeah.
Well, how he enabled that? Like, this man is
disgusting. It's disgraceful.
Right in the run.
Well, the thing is, they're all in because. But the thing is, they're all in on this film because they need it. They don't expect to make money on this film, but they need it to transition to the other films in which they can make money. Because they're greedy motherfuckers, all of them, at the end of the day.
There's not only that, WB should be, or their company, the people in charge should actually be charged with aiding and abetting a fugitive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
I said this like a while ago too, when it was like there's no way that the studio just doesn't know where this guy is. It's like somebody in his circle is telling him, "Hey, lay low because you have too much heat on you right now. Just lay low for a while, and then we'll wait for this whole thing to pass on." But obviously, he doesn't have the personality to do that because he keeps getting back into trouble. There's only two ways they can move forward with this film. One, they have to just completely reshoot it with a whole new actor and be like, "Hey, look, we tried to go on with Ezra Miller. We can't do that. You're just gonna have to bite the bullet and invest another $100 million in this for reshoots, and then hope that once you completely remove yourself from Ezra Miller, that maybe people will come back and embrace this movie. He's no part of it whatsoever. Or simply, you know what? We spent $300 million on this. We're just going to have to bite the bullet." I mean, Warner Brothers already lost about $12 billion a couple of years ago in revenue. So I'm sure another $300 million won't hurt that much, all things considered.
Right,
so
look, how much time was Joss Whedon given to do the reshoots for Justice League?
6 months.
Must have been like 5 months, something like that. I give it take.
Something like that,
It was like
and he turned Ben Affleck into Alcohol of the Year.
Whoa.
I just want to say real quick.
He was just drinking a little bit more than no, that's okay.
I just want to say real quick. There's this very it's not old, but it's from the show called Justified. Maybe some of you have seen it. And with Ezra Miller, no matter where he shows up, he's an asshole. So it's like you run into an asshole, you ran into an asshole. You keep running into an asshole, you're the asshole. Like you're the problem, dude. You're the problem everywhere you go. You know, the girl that said like it was a cult-like atmosphere when she went over there in Iceland. I mean, all the different people that have kind of given their tale in their run-ins with Ezra Miller. The guy is unhinged. He needs help. I don't even think that he would go to prison or jail. He would go to some like Club Med, we're going to take care of you because we care about your well-being kind of horseshit. So I have no hopes that because remember Armie Hammer? He was basically accused of being a cannibal. It was never proven, or it was never. I mean, maybe some of the text messages don't look great, but he was into some weird stuff. But he was never attached to a major franchise.
Well, here's another thing you have to remember about Hollywood. Hollywood has this thing what we like to call publicists, and this is a thing that's exclusive to them, where they have literally an industry in Hollywood where it's people's job to run interference in the media when bad shit comes out about you personally, right? You have to think to yourself, what other industry you could think of where if bad shit, whether it's legal shit or like I said, whether you're into cannibals or having sex with kids, whatever the twisted shit you may be into, that there's an industry available for you that runs interference with the media to downplay the shit that you either accused of or that you're into. Like
politics.
This is the world that
politics in the movies. Yep.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so that's all what it comes down to. Like I said, this guy, there's only two ways I see this ending, because I asked this question on the last show too. Like, how do you think this is going to end? Do you think that Warner Brothers is going to finally say, hey, you know what, we tried with this guy, but it's clearly not going to work? Or do you think Ezra Miller, or do you think Ezra Miller's gonna go down in like some Waco style shootout before Warner Brothers says, okay, we're just done with this guy now? Like, what's going to happen first at this point?
Warner Brothers might as well just go all in on it now anyway, because they proved, despite the dude probably, who knows, allegedly diddling fucking underage women and who the fuck knows what else. At that point, it's like, you're a company that's just a piece of shit. Like, you might as well just go all in on it. There's nothing that you could do that's going to make you look any better in any given situation. So you might as well just do what the fuck you wanted to do anyway, because there's no moral standing that you have at all.
Yep. I still say just put him in the movie and like kill him, and you don't have to worry about his character anymore.
Just reshoot the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and then afterward you sue him when the movie tanks for money that he
doesn't have.
Yeah. I mean, like, you just, but I mean, at least it looks better, and then you go around and you offer your conciliatory speeches and be like, yeah, we acknowledge that he needs help, and we're gonna do our best by cutting him loose.
You know, I read that
now he's broke and poor, and we've all seen him get his balls kicked in on screen several times, hopefully.
I mean,
and like, then everybody can be happy.
The way I see it is WB is not recovering from this because, one, WB also made a choice to double a certain Aquaman starlet's screen time in the Aquaman 2 movie. Two, they have this man who is known, or a known abuser of women, a menace to society, and causing problems across 4 countries, and yet they still has kept him in employ. They released this movie. They are going to be forever known as a company that endorses violence against women and spousal abuse. I have been saying this for months. This is the public image that WB has created themselves because they made some screwed up mistakes and then they doubled down like it was a freaking casino. This isn't a casino, you idiots. This is real life. And you all created this humongous court of public opinion. You wanted to rule it. Well, now it's starting to move against you. You guys don't realize the bad optic situation you created for yourselves. You're making yourselves look like you endorse criminals.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? Maybe they actually do endorse criminals. Like I said, they haven't come out once to even say, "Hey, we're looking into the situation at all." They're trying to keep everything on the hush because we spent $300 million on this movie. We need to protect our investment at all costs, even if that means protecting Ezra Miller, which is.
I mean, that's why they pulled the audience. This is basically their way of trying to say, well, now we are acknowledging that he is an asshole. You're acknowledging it without acknowledging it.
Yep.
You're asking us for what you, a billion-dollar company, should do. Shame on you.
Yeah, which is essentially their way.
Public, no, but still,
it's essentially their way of saying, "Hey, if we release this film next year, you're going to go see it." That's their way of it. Yeah.
I won't see it.
I mean, look, I understand being pissed off at Warner Brothers, and I'm not saying they're exempt from criticism at all. They deserve it. But Warner Brothers has been around for 100 years, and they have probably, in my estimation, are the best run studio historically. Now, maybe that's not the case, and I don't even know what of the studio system even exists, because these are all multinational corporations that are owned by other entities. So that's kind of the box I put it in. I don't have any expectations, but Warner Brothers as a brand is one of the strongest and most important historically, has put out some of the greatest films of all time. So I'm not defending them, but they're probably going to be fine. I don't think that they have a PR issue at all. But they gotta get this under wraps. Like, they have to do the right thing on any level of saying, hey, we're going to go forward with this because of this reason, and we're letting you know. Or we're going to scrap it because of this reason, and we're letting you know. Either way, you got to shit or get off the pot.
You want to know what they really need to do, or what their actual best option right now is what's known as the wild card option. You do something that is so unpredictable that you completely take the public off guard.
Yeah.
Release the movie right now.
Yeah,
actually, that's a pretty good. Yeah,
because by doing
that'd be the way to just get the fuck over it, right?
Well, not only that,
I would watch it if it comes out right now.
You're getting the situation behind you, but you're also confusing everybody. That's like, oh my god, you actually just fucking did that.
Yep.
Now you're going to make people, including the protesters, wonder: did they just release this? What the frick?
Doing something so unpredictable that no one can prepare for it.
Right.
Exactly. By doing that, you might actually get even your protesters out of curiosity to watch it. That
changing the conversation.
Yeah, because now it's like, what? Okay, they just suddenly. Why? Why did they just suddenly do this?
Yeah.
Because, motherfucker, we can watch it.
Yeah. Well, since
that's a good idea, and that would also like you could just cut ties with him after that. So
yeah. Well,
that's the second option.
Since I need the content, and since Josh is here now, let's go ahead and wrap this up on the bow and talk about a complete simp in Kevin Smith. And this is going to be short and sweet and to the point.
He died years ago. He died years ago. He died of a heart attack. This is a clone.
Yeah, he's still 500 pounds. And then he had a heart attack and passed away, and this is just some weirdo ass replacement.
There was some people in the comment section saying that, well, because he actually got he had like a heart attack and stuff like that, and he became a vegan. He's now consuming soy products and stuff like that. This is the Kevin Smith we got.
Yeah,
he became an emaciated chimpanzee. I mean, look at those ears.
Yeah, so let's just get short and sweet here. He's simping over this Batgirl movie that got canceled. So when he did an interview with the DC Project, he said that it's an incredibly bad look to cancel the Latina Batgirl movie. And he says, and I quote, "I don't give a shit if the movie
didn't use the appropriate X at the end, though."
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, he didn't use
Shut up, Josh. Shut up.
Nobody likes that name.
Stop it. But then he went on to say, and I quote, "I don't give a shit if the movie was absolute fucking dog shit. I guarantee you that it wasn't." So even if the movie,
so you were behind the scenes, were you, Kev?
Oh my god, dude! What a
that's a real quote. And then he followed that up by saying the two directors who directed it did a couple of episodes of Miss Marvel, the Disney Plus series. It was a wonderful fucking show, and they had more money to do with Batgirl than they had to do an episode of Miss Marvel and stuff. So he's one of the leading people driving this. We have to release Batgirl, even though it bombed at the test screenings, and DC said that it was going to destroy our brand if we release this movie. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys wrap this one up. Go ahead and rant on Kevin Smith. What do you feel about this guy?
So
he used to be such a guy. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
So I looked up to Kevin Smith when I was younger. I actually didn't see any of his earlier movies. My first one was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, And then I worked my way back, to Dogma and Clerks and Chasing Amy and Mallrats. And look, I love Kevin Smith as a personality, as a movie director personality. He's like, hey, I'm not an artist. I just make movies I love. He had a very down to earth, demeanor. He was from New Jersey, a state that I lived right next to growing up. So he was somewhat of a movie making hero to me. That hey, if you really love it, if you're really passionate, you can make it too. You can, to see him turn into this sort of skinny, social justice defending idiot, when he used to have like a hard-edged fuck you to Hollywood and to like Hollywood producers and critics, he got Cop Out got absolutely slandered, trashed by critics, because he basically were like, critics don't matter, and I appreciated that at the time, because of that contentious relationship of when you do that, you're really saying I don't need you. And so I miss Kevin Smith. He ever since he just defends his daughter and tries to get her in projects, and he's turned into something that is unrecognizable, and it honestly just makes me sad. I mean, I can laugh about it, but I grew up with the man. It's kind of heartbreaking, but I just kind of put him in a category at this point.
Real quick before I let Cassie go, real quick, I just wanted to say that Clerks 3 is coming out, I believe, next month, September the 4th. And essentially the premise of the movie is that after surviving a heart attack, Randall Graves decides to make a movie with Dante Hicks about their lives at the Quick Stop convenience store. So just in case you didn't catch on, is essentially allegory to his own heart attack. And he's created another Clerks 3 movie because he survived. So yeah, coming out next month. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, gosh.
So for me, it's like a weird situation, because I am half Puerto Rican, half Hispanic, and I am Italian and Irish, so I'm half Hispanic and half white. And so I say this wholeheartedly when I say dumb fucking white people like Kevin Smith need to just shut the fuck up when it comes to constantly trying to virtue signal about like Hispanics. Just please shut the fuck up. The fact that you want a piece of shit Batgirl movie to come out just because the main fucking actress is Hispanic, it is meaningless. If it's a pile of dog shit, motherfucking Puerto Ricans don't want to endorse it. Fucking Dominicans don't want to endorse it. We don't want to endorse Latinx. It's these dumb fucking white people that constantly fucking push this bullshit that nobody wants. If anything, just leave Hispanics alone. Stop talking for Hispanics. You're not a fucking ally. If anything, you're just trying to neuter my fucking people, okay? We want to be fucking tough, and we want to fucking earn it. I think that's the one thing a lot of people could say about Hispanics. Like, Hispanic people are willing to fucking work hard and go above and beyond to earn the things that they get, more than a lot of Americans. That's one thing I can support when it comes to like migrants that do come here illegally. Like, they're willing to go above and beyond. And in some case, I'd rather them trade their citizenship with these loser ass fucking American white people that are fucking lazy motherfuckers. Please just trade places, because at least there's hardworking people that are willing to earn it. So please stop fucking trying to dumb down Hispanic people. Stop trying to give them the fucking freebies. We don't need it. If anything, just get the fuck out of the way. Thank you.
Yep.
So I guess we don't really have you on board with the casting of Namor in the MCU.
Yeah, that I just want to say that 50% of that rant was offensive, so I denounced half of it. Just throwing that out there.
I gotta say this: Cassie's rant just crushed the F-bomb total of Boondock Saints.
Yep. Yeah. Good luck.
Scarface though.
I was gonna say good luck trying to follow that rant.
Yeah, I'm sorry I went first. You should have went first, Cassie. Sorry.
It's fine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No worries.
Who's next?
Go for it.
So
all right, I'll freaking do it. Kevin Smith, the emaciated chimpanzee, as I call him, because he does look like a chimpanzee. I mean, look at his freaking ears, and look how thin he is.
Yeah.
His ears look. I mean, he could be Dumbo's cousin. I mean, I guess, but well, there's another one that he could be. But as I was saying, I liked Kevin Smith in 2 movies. That god-awful Daredevil movie where he was saying that he was going to freaking rip out a dude's intestines and fucking force feed him them in a weird doctor chat room. And then in that Live Free or Die Hard where he played the Warlock. I mean, those were great performances by him, even though he's a fucking asshole in both of them. But it's like, what happened to you, dude? Not only will I never fucking forgive you for what you did to He-Man, because I will literally take my sword of power upstairs, shove it up your ass, twist, and then hope your fucking spine comes out with it. Because you played with something that was so influential from my childhood that I have the most embarrassing story of my brothers, and you fucked with it. Mm-hmm. You fucked with it, Kevin Smith. You don't understand how you have the skills, you have the freaking hilarity, how your self-deprecating humor, but you screwed so much with something that was very valued to people from the 80s and 90s and growing up. And now you want to just protect or defend. What are you white knighting for? I mean, seriously, why does she need you to stick up for her? Who the hell even are you in the greater scheme of the DC universe? I'm sorry, but Barbara Gordon is a fucking red-headed white chick.
Yeah.
I agree.
They're angry because
the ginger side that Hollywood is committing.
They're angry because WB took away their tokenized replacement for Batman. That's exactly why they're upset. It wasn't because the film was good, because it wasn't.
Do they not realize that Batman is the most important character of the entire DC universe?
DC.
Batman could destroy the Justice League if they ever got out of hand.
Right.
What is Batgirl known to do? What was Batgirl ever known to be, except for Oracle when she got shot by the Joker?
Shot in the back.
Getting shot and raped by the Joker is pretty much.
You got shot, raped by the Joker, and you became a fucking computer genius in a wheelchair. That's all you're fucking known for. Batman is more appealing because he is literally the smartest fucking person in that universe. I'm sorry, but they did the right choice by canceling that movie. I don't care about her or about the choice of her being Hispanic. Well, I kind of do because I hate identity politics, and that was the whole choice behind it. But you had no fucking future with her. Yep. I'm sorry. You would be pissing everybody off if you did continue with her, because you gotta get her in a wheelchair and on a computer for somebody else, and so she's gonna be a side chick. That's her future.
Just want to throw this out here before we wrap this up. Dana Meyer, who, if you don't remember, played Batgirl, the Oracle, in that terrible WB Birds of Prey that came out like 20 years ago. This is what she looks like now, 53 years old. So,
hello.
Throwing that out there, completely unrelated.
Very pretty.
Well, hello there. She looks pretty good.
Oh, she was in Starship Troopers? I know she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Right.
She looks like a better Michelle Pfeiffer. What the fuck?
Yeah, she was also in, if you're a real old person, not throwing anyone under the bus here, but if you remember Beverly Hills 90210, she was also predominantly in that series as well. So
vaguely. I just remember Sharon Doherty being a huge bitch. That's all I remember about Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah,
she was such a slut.
Yeah. Both of those statements are correct.
But yeah, oh my God, that's my thoughts on Kevin Smith. Dude, you're defending something that literally has no future of any real substance.
No, they would have had her become Batman. I mean, they tried to do it with Batwoman in that shitty ass CW show. So it wouldn't surprise me if they just ignore fucking like basically the character's comic book history. Like they have no problem doing that whenever they feel like it. Let's just replace Batgirl and make her Batman with a pussy.
I mean,
and she's Latina. Don't forget that.
She also, I mean, what was it? What movie did she end up getting it on with
yeah,
We're literally just talking about.
Was it the Killing Joke?
Animated movie? Yeah, it was.
It was such a disappointment to see. It's like you're fucking the person that you're bringing up. It's like I see Barbara as like Bruce as the surrogate father for Barbara, and it's like they're fucking. It's so disgusting and distasteful.
That when I saw that movie, I'm like, I don't ever want to see that again. And the person who made this, I would like them right in front of me so I could bitch slap them. It's like, what were you thinking putting that freaking
it's like having sex with
anonymous incest on a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having sex with someone you've known since they were a child. It's like it's not incestuous, but it's extremely creepy,
inappropriate,
extremely suspect.
But yeah, like a stepfather, maybe.
So what?
Yeah, it's kind of like a stepfather thing. Ugh,
yeah.
I mean, they want to bastardize every innocent thing possible. Everything, if it be your children or if it be this genuine relationship between these two characters that's not based upon sexual attraction in any way, shape, or form, anything, they just want to bastardize and perverse it.
I will say, like, I don't know much about Kevin Smith as a whole. I think I've started hearing about him with He-Man because he went after Clownfish TV and that kind of blew up. He
still owes them an apology.
Yeah, and so to me, he's always been kind of like one of those people is like, how can I make this about me type of people? But I didn't know him before. I didn't know of him before probably like 2 years ago. So, but that's kind of what I get out of this. It's like, oh, you want this to be about you. It doesn't matter, like Cassie was saying about like representation being sucky or subpar. I mean, again, I like the term cultural reparations. We need cultural reparations for the LGBT people. We need it for the Latinos. We need it for the Black people. We need it for all these people who are just horrifically underrepresented in film history. Yeah,
But that's the whole, like, and to me, this I've been fighting with the whole representation debate on Twitter for 5 years. Literally, I posted one back from 2017 where I'm talking about forced diversity. You know, where it's like diversity is great, it's a wonderful thing, but when you're only talking about surface level diversity, you know, or forced diversity, saying it we have to have 33% of a Black cast. It's like, what does that have to do with the creative process? What does it have to do with telling this narrative? What does it have to do with actually making a good piece of art? It has nothing to do with it. We feel like these people have not been represented throughout history, so we are good liberals because we're giving them the opportunity, which also undercuts your whole equality debate, which is like, it's not about it. It's all about making yourself feel better. It's not even about, hey, we're giving opportunities to those less fortunate. And it's like, why are they less fortunate? Because they have a different skin color? Fuck you. Seriously, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I just wanted to make a note too that diversity in film was not created in 2017. Like a lot of these people seem to think that it was.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it goes back to, like, again, like you were saying, like with Kevin Smith what is it, re-sequel, re-prequel, I don't know, with Clerks 3. He's basically writing his like own life story into the plot line. And this, again, like earlier I was saying, like a writer's only as good as their life experience and their learned experience as well as their experience. And it just sounds like it's like you're creatively bankrupt. Most people are living through movies more than they're living. And so we get a lot of, well, you could probably come up with a better idea.
Most of these people are living through Twitter instead of living real life.
But they're good movies, I promise. They're good movies. They're not shitty ones.
Well, and that's kind of like movies, like the further away you get from the primary generation of things, the worse they'll be, you know, the in terms of like I don't know how to explain it. Oh, it's late. It's like the first time you reboot something, it's like, hey, you know, this wasn't bad. Maybe it was made some kind of different approach to things, you know, like or like the sequels, like Predator, that had that Prey thing come out this week, right? So, you know, maybe it has something different to say about stuff. Maybe we could learn something useful, or maybe they could have made it a total piece of trash without any creative thought whatsoever. And maybe it was okay, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I didn't watch it. But
I think a good example of that is just, for instance, Dawn of the Dead. I really like Zack Snyder's remake that came out in 2004. You know, and even though the original is incredibly well renowned and respected, especially among horror fans, you know, I really like the 2004 remake because I saw it when I was 15 in a movie theater, and you know, I found it really effective. But you know, is it going to have the same staying power as George Romero's, which is still known? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like what a good example I would think of is like Jurassic World. Is like the first one was like, what is this? Okay, it's exciting and stuff, but then they started like repeating the troops in the second one, and it went like way off the rails.
Well, I'm one of the persons that hated it from the first one, because from the first one, you have to understand that we've already had 3 movies before this. So it's like, how are you still fucking up with dinosaurs 30 years after the fact when you should clearly know better by this point? So they had even less of an excuse for Jurassic World than they did with the first one.
Yeah, and like the more you have of something, the less valuable it actually becomes. To in that sense too, where we're like, I think of Star Wars with this, because like the original trilogy is really good, really solid. It's got some mistakes here and there, whatever, some plot holes here, but it's really charming. It's full of goodwill. It's full of kind of like a good kind of, it's a simple storyline, but it still has something that speaks in a timeless sort of way, you know.
A lot of these films that we're mentioning are films from like the 70s, where the 70s is like honestly one of the greatest periods for filmmaking because of how off rails it was. Because you just had regular average people just like with these creative ideas. Like a lot of them weren't even famous before doing this.
There's literally movies on Tubi right now made from the 70s where it literally looks like someone just took a camcorder and just shot a movie. There's like, well, we'll figure out the script as we go along. Like that's essentially
but like the 70s was just full of this, we're going to break all the rules that were established by Hollywood, and we're going to just throw out these ideas, and some of them are really grand in scope and some of them are really small in scale, but there's something to appreciate about so many of them. And now they're just being remade and there's nothing behind it. There's no creative integrity. There's no originality. The only thing they want to do is take this well-known property and make a piece of shit out of it and get people to buy it.
Well, the other thing too is like there's no subtext anymore. It's like you have to say exactly what you're trying to pronounce here. It's like with the whole like Andor thing taking on Trump. It's like, oh, we have to tell you that this is about Donald Trump. It's like, why don't you just let people kind of like maybe figure that out for themselves? I mean, like asking for subtlety today is like asking for the moon, and they're gonna blow it up before they give it to me. So.
Well, I've spent the last 3 or 4 years doing. I mean, I've certainly gone through other decades. You guys see if you follow my Twitter, but the decade I've absolutely fallen in love with is the 70s, and I don't know if it's the art, you know, the new Hollywood that kind of came out of the late 60s and took so much of what the French New Wave and Italian neo-realists from the 50s and kind of bringing these European sensibilities. And if you pay attention to how these movies are shot, you know, compared to today, it's just like, it's so embarrassing how, and Cassie's right, these people weren't famous. They just passionately, obsessively wanted to make something that looked different, looked interesting, that it set itself apart. Even if it wasn't a great movie, it still gave you so much to chew on, an idea, a thought, a consideration. We don't get that anymore. There's just no risk. And see, so I was talking about this earlier. There's no subtext anymore. There's no metaphor. There's no like you can't give the audience any work because they'll be like, I don't know. So
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like, even as a writer, like I get frustrated sometimes because I feel like my books are like deep and meaningful and unique in many ways, and then like people are like, oh, I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's like you put this thought process that you're obsessed with expressing in this perfect way. And I've been in a situation like that before, like with writing in general, when I was really into it. Like I put so much thought into the little intricacies of writing this a certain way in order to get it across to an audience that I'm trying to make it for. And when they don't get it at all, it's depressing to think about because you put so much thought and it meant so much to you. And it sucks that honestly society is dumbing down. I think it's becoming more and more obvious as time goes on. And it's like, I don't want to think that way. Like, I would like to think better, but every day I'm just proven horribly wrong.
Yeah. Well, look, we're winding down here. We're coming up on a 2.5 hour mark, so I think this would be a good time to wrap this one up and let everyone promote their stuff before we chill everything we got coming up here, and I'll give everyone a chance to say their piece. So, Josh, you came in late, so let's go ahead and get you out of the way.
Let's get this bomb out of the way, mate.
Yeah, right.
Already, what is he doing?
We're tossing you out of the pub.
Joining when there's like 10 minutes left of the show. Yeah. Although I've been here for like 30 minutes now, so I don't know. I've earned my spot, man.
Yeah, you master color people time. Congratulations.
Oh my god.
What?
Jesus.
Oh, what was that?
Oh wow. Yep.
Never mind. Just tell everyone what they can find you. What are you working on?
Where they can find me? Well, usually about in the comics, right? So I'm doing most of the editing. Not most of the editing. We're kind of split, right? So Spencer's not really doing anything. Except he's actually writing articles at the moment. I'm not, but yeah. Well, you can find me at Binding in the Comics on the Black Spill. What is that? On the Black Pill stream on Wednesdays for Binding in the Comics as well. And well, I guess this is the last time we're gonna be here on Friday for the
barroom, fool. You should know.
The barroom, right? Because it's look, but the reason why I'm getting, all of these, I can't remember the name, because next week is going to turn into like the coffee shop podcast or whatever, right? Because it's not going to be on Friday. Is it a coffee shop? I don't know. It's not going to be a bar room because who goes to the bar room like on a Tuesday? Me.
At this point, we're
not talking about me though.
Friday.
Is it? Well, no. Hold on. Is it getting moved? I'll let Jacob take that. Yeah. Well, Binding in the Comics. There I am. The average Josh. I think 1983 on Twitter, and that's.
This man doesn't even know his own Twitter handle.
I don't know because I've never used it. I mean, I go on Twitter, right? But why should I say that? That's just the name.
All right, then. Well, Orange Hat reviews.
By the way,
you all.
Okay, no, God. That's all right.
Yeah.
Orange Hat reviews. I do movie reviews, entertainment review, controversy in Hollywood and stuff. I also do guest choice reviews where I bring on a guest. They get to choose the movie, the date, and time of the stream, and we get to talk, have fun, discuss the movie that they like, and whatnot. The mystery reviews, I leave some hints out for you to guess, and I reveal it when I start the stream. And yeah, I'm thinking about contacting a group of people or a group of YouTubers to see if they want to hop on for guest choice. You can find me on Twitter at OrangeHat2185. I'm on Facebook under Orange Hat Reviews. I even got a page up now. I also have Minds and Getter under Orange Hat Reviews. So look for me there. Not really on there that much. I'm trying to get myself kicked off of Twitter so I can be, but Twitter just hasn't kicked me off yet. You fucks. But anyway,
just start talking about pronouns. You'll be off pretty soon. Or how about this? Just post about the election coming up. You'll be kicked off very, very quickly. So.
Just say how a certain T in the alphabet community aren't really the gender that they're claiming to be.
Well, Cassie, you know all about Twitter, so where can they find you?
Oh my gosh. Well, if you want to engage in more of Cult Classic Cage assholery, just search Cult Classic Cage on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, and my stupid face will pop right up.
Should have got that one.
It's a cute, stupid face. So
that should be the video's thumbnail from now on.
Well, Johnson, where can they find more of you?
Hi, everybody. Well, first of all, I gotta say, I want to be one of your guest post people, Orange Hat Review guy.
All
I'm
right,
gonna make you watch Josie and the Pussycats. By the way. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna make you watch Josie and the Pussycats with me because I love that movie.
2001 one, right?
Yeah, the one with Rachel Lee Cook and Ahsoka before what's her name?
Oh, Rosario Dawson.
Yeah,
I think I actually remember that movie.
It's hilarious now, like 20 years later. Okay, but no, everybody can find me on Twitter and YouTube and Gab at Writer CS Johnson, and most of my profile pictures are this one. It's a feather, it's a quill, and I write books. And you should buy them all because I'm very clever and I'm very charming. I'm kind of a warm goofball person, and I have a lot to say that it's like social media to me is like screaming with your face open as you like put it in the ocean. It's just really hard to get anything across sometimes. So, but come and find me and we'll have chats, and you can decide which tweets I'm being sarcastic on or not, I guess.
All right, then last but definitely least, Mr. Rob Motto.
That is respect, man.
Always the least. No. I've been kicked off Twitter a few times. Mostly they really don't like the "see you next Tuesday" word. So that's okay though. We'll learn and we'll move on. So yeah, my Twitter's in the bottom there. I watch something like 15 movies a week. I've been trying to get more thoughts sort of on my Twitter about them and get more writing done, just because I watch too many movies not to sort of have my opinions out there and for my followers to check out. So that's mostly what I do. I talk about movies. Lately, I've just been watching film noir and boxing movies. So check it out, man.
Nice.
Yeah, we got to bully Rob into either starting a YouTube channel or starting a site or something like that, because you watch way too many movies to not monetize it. So we got to work on that one, man.
YouTube.
Yep. Just throwing that out there. So then we're back to me. So just quick update, like I said earlier in the show, next week we won't have a bar room because I will be in Vegas. So we won't be doing the show next week. But in 2 weeks, the show is moving to Tuesday night. So we'll be back on the 23rd. That'll be our next time we'll be back here for the bar room. Tomorrow night, we're going to be watching Nighthawks on our last movie night for a while, because on the 24th, we're going to be doing a new show, Retro Wave Reviews. And I think we'll be talking about the film Night of the Comet, because it's a movie that I know a couple of us watched here on one of our unofficial movie shows. So I wanted to kind of introduce that one. I think that's a good jumping point for our nostalgia discussion. So that will be on the 24th. We'll start doing that one every Wednesday night. And then myself, Rob, and Rick will be back doing the movie review schedule, not this Monday because I'll actually be on Comics Division's YouTube show, but on the 22nd, we'll be back doing regular movie reviews with the Monday Night Movie crew, and we'll be talking about the Idris Elba film, Beast. So that'll be a film that we'll review. We'll also talk about some movie news as well. So we'll have a good discussion. I'm changing a little things up, but there are going to be videos posted this coming week. So I will have videos up, but obviously I'll be in Vegas. So maybe I'll update you guys with a few things. So if you're in Vegas, I guess I'll see you then. And, if not, just wait another week, and we got some good things coming up. So for all of my guests tonight, Orange Hat, Johnson, Josh, Cage, Rob, for everyone who joined us in the chat, Oz, I know you were there with us most of the night. Duke Nukem, you've been with us all night long. Ninth Pixel, I know Spencer was there for a short period of time before he had to go back into work. So BC was there. Master of TDS was joining us tonight. So anyone who joined us tonight who I didn't get the name, thank you for joining by. And of course, before we head out, before we say goodbye to all of our family, just like the Mickey Mouse Club, how about a little bit more Dana Meyer? Anyone is into that one? Maybe this is a good way to just go ahead and close the show off by showing a little bit more of this. Until then, I will see you tomorrow night on Twitch. So, like I said, join me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. We'll see you then. Go ahead and hit the spring yard. Let's get out of here. Good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Nice.